I have to choose between no button at all and the magic button that makes the entire world constitutionally limited and governments follow their own laws. That's a magic button that I would absolutely press.
It's
I'm
still
just
be
saying
better
that
than today.
as long as we're making up magic buttons, I might as well get rid of the massive violent institution that rules over the human race.
That button is rainbow colored and plays the hokey pokey when you push it. It is that crazy.
Thanks, Charlie, for your call tonight. Let's go to James. He's in Arizona. You're on Free Talk Live. Hi, James.
Eminem, Minister Edge and Minister Freeman, and the nut in between.
You're the peanut M&M.
No, that'd be can't cope well.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Mark, I believe animals have rights. That's why I would respect Chris if he were in my orbit. Otherwise, I wouldn't object to anybody pulling out a Glock and emptying his skull of the blood and brains.
You love to talk about people's death, and then you get all upset when I call you a raving lunatic, a psychopathic, homicidal nut.
One of these days, love to respond to all the crap you said on Free Talk Live.
You don't have to respond to it. You just, within 15 seconds, were fantasizing about unloading a Glock into Chris Cantwell's skull. You are a lunatic.
He wasn't saying he would do it.
Yes, he was fantasizing about it.
By the way, Mark, for the benefit of your listeners, Kent Copewell fantasized about how it would be great that more cops would have Glocks emptied in their
Don't pretend that you do anything for the benefit of anyone. I've listened to you. Mark has read to me the text. This guy obsesses about us. He's like sending us Skype messages. I'm glad he actually called in this time, because what he's been doing for months now is he sends Skype message after Skype message after Skype message throughout the show telling us how much he hates us while he listens to the program religiously. It's creepy, James.
Right, I'm creepy. Just like James from Kalamazoo, chronic caller, has never called that because he calls in to wax you. But anyway, Bernard, speaking of pushing a button, if somebody would push a button in Keene and make you and all your freak Keeners disappear and all your Free State Project sycophants disappear,
where do we go?
Loss would Keene be? And wouldn't it be a nicer place? What loss to Keene would be if you were all to be pushed away by a button, literally. It would be actually a better place. But anyway, Cantwell, you're the one that fantasized and celebrated two cops being murdered by a cold-blooded lunatic.
You know what's fun about buttons?
And then none of them...
I can push them too. 855, 450 free.
To abolish James Whittakind.
I love how this guy just thinks that Keene would be better off. It's one of the most liberal places in the state, in one of the more liberal areas of the country. And this guy, who's an avowed conservative, just thinks these liberals should be able to get their way at everything. This just goes to show the twisted
statist.
Logic.
Well, I mean, he's as much of a statist as any of the liberals in Keene. I mean, he loves the government, and so do a lot of the people around here in Keene. And I'm sure there are some people who would like to press a button and get rid of all of us. But sorry, there's more people coming here.
That's why I don't like talking about these buttons, these imaginary buttons. Just doesn't make any sense.
All right. I don't know where the hell we were going. Hey, the Alzheimer's thing. What the hell happened with that in like 20 seconds?
Yeah, so real quick, there was a guy in Iowa who's a legislator there who was put on trial because his wife had Alzheimer's and was in a nursing home, and he was going in there and visiting her. I don't have her age handy, but he was like 78 years old.
Sexy visits.
And so he's going to visit his wife in a nursing home. They're having sex. He was charged with sexual assault. And he just went on trial and was just found not guilty, which I think is great news. Yeah, by a jury. I think it's great news because from all accounts, his wife wanted to have sex with him. It was a comfort that he was providing to her in this home.
Good.
And, I hope I'm getting laid when I'm that old.
Check out Chris's new show this Friday, still 5 o'clock?
Radical Agenda, 5 to 7 p.m.
ChristopherCampbell.com and also freetalklive.com. Visit us online. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. You can help by joining the AMP program for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com and getting perks. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
I'm Mark Stevens of the No State Project. And are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're only helping the government. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available right now. Learn it, use it, spread it. So get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
You're 6 minutes away from a live episode of Free Talk Live, brought to you by freekeene.com. Listen live at freetalklive.com.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, April 23rd, 2015. Silver is trading at $15.89 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,190 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $236. Antiwar.com reports on Tuesday afternoon, facing growing criticism for massive civilian death tolls, Saudi Arabia announced the end to its airstrikes against Yemen, claiming they had accomplished their military objectives. By Wednesday morning, Saudi warplanes were once again pounding targets at several sites in Yemen, leaving many to wonder what the point was of Tuesday's mission accomplished moment. The Saudis seemed keen to rebrand Operation Decisive Storm amid the growing death toll, but it's hard to imagine anyone else will see the new operation as anything but the old operation under a different name. Yemen's Houthis, the primary target of Saudi strikes, continue to urge a cessation of hostilities and negotiations under UN auspices. The Saudis have publicly insisted that the only end they'll expect to the war is the reinstallation of former President Hadi, who resigned in January and is now living in exile in Riyadh, awaiting a second shot at being a ruler with no electoral mandate, but with substantial international military backing. For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell from Kentucky introduced a bill on Tuesday to extend the controversial USA Patriot Act and its surveillance provisions until 2020. The extension would allow the NSA to continue to collect data on millions of U.S. phone records daily. The NSA does so under the authority of Section 215, which allows for secret court orders to collect tangible things that could be used by the government in investigations. Section 215 expires on June 1st. The NSA's mass collection program was revealed by former contractor Edward Snowden, which sparked a debate about privacy, security, and the reach of government surveillance. Senator Patrick Leahy from Vermont said in a statement, despite overwhelming consensus that the bulk collection of Americans' phone records under Section 215 of the USA Patriot Act must end, Senate Republican leaders are proposing to extend that authority without change. This tone-deaf attempt to pave the way for 5.5 more years of unchecked surveillance will not succeed. I will oppose any reauthorization of Section 215 that does not contain meaningful reforms. Leahy and a bipartisan group of lawmakers on the House Judiciary Committee are attempting to end the NSA's mass collection of records. Harley Geiger, policy counsel at the Center for Democracy and Technology, said, the Senate Majority Leader's bill makes no attempt to protect Americans' privacy or reform ongoing NSA surveillance programs that do not provide any tangible benefit to national security. For Americans concerned about government intrusion in their lives, the bill is a kick in the stomach.
When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports police in Utah said on Wednesday they had arrested a 25-year-old man on suspicion of arson after he told police officers he lit a brush fire that burned dozens of acres to signal for help after his car got stuck. The Grand County Sheriff's Office said its deputies, local firefighters, and Bureau of Land Management workers responded to a report of Monday's blaze, which destroyed up to 40 acres of old-growth cottonwood trees and other vegetation and threatened several structures. In a statement, the Sheriff's Office said a vehicle had become stuck near where the fire started when the driver had tried to turn around on the hillside. The driver, Weston Frank Viteri of Green River, Utah, told law enforcers that he had started a fire as a signal for help. One firefighter sustained burns when he stepped into a hole created by a burned-out stump and was transported to Moab Regional Hospital. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
We have a breaking news blast on the tragic situation happening across the country, in which more than 40,000 Americans have been trapped in a Confessions animal hoarding marathon on Animal Planet for the last 13 hours. The Animal Hoarders Marathon began at 9 this morning as victims were preparing for a full day before hearing the fateful sound of the show's opening credits. Almost instantly, thousands were pinned to their couches by a story of a heavyset homosexual living with his partner, his toothless sister, and 31 chihuahuas. Rescue workers rushed to free as many victims as they could.
The rope secure? Rope secure. We're gonna get you out of here. Just hold on a second, ma'am.
Wait, I think the next one is about monkeys.
Ready? Ready! Pull!
No, wait. Can I just see what happens with the feral cat?
In other parts of the country, rescue workers enlisted volunteers who had already seen the episodes to spoil them for the victims.
Oh, yeah, this one. This is about the lady living with the dogs in the trailer. She doesn't even get evicted in the end.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live. You may take control of the airwaves. Bring up whatever is on your mind at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. Our Skype username here is lrn.fm. So feel free to reach out to us in that way if you prefer. I prefer it because generally Skype sounds a lot better. It's Ian and Mark in the studio with you as usual. However, our usual Thursday night co-host will not be joining us tonight because he has graciously stepped aside because we are doing something a little experimental, a little bit unusual here in the Free Talk Live LRN.FM studios, and that is we're having a third person on the show who is kind of going to be interviewing us on our own show. So it's sort of like a reverse interview thing that's happening here.
It never goes well interviewing me because I always end up interviewing them back.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're a talk show host.
Yeah, what are you going to do, right?
Billy Wayne Davis is in the studio with us here tonight. Billy Wayne, welcome to Free Talk Live.
Thank you for having me.
You've come all the way from Los Angeles.
Yes. Well, by way of Tennessee originally. But
you sound like it.
Yeah, when I tell people I'm from Los Angeles, they laugh. Right.
So we, due to confidentiality stuff, we can't really say too much about what's going on here, but our folks who are watching on the webcams will notice that there is a camera crew here with you as well, Billy Wayne.
Yes.
And so there's a documentary being filmed, and that's about all I think that we can say right now. You will be involved with that documentary as the host of it.
Yeah.
And when or where that will come out, or all those details, we don't have those yet. But once we do, we'll share them with you.
Yeah, and you walked around all that legalese really well right there. That was impressive.
So welcome to the program. I guess what we can say is that part of this documentary is going to focus on your search for freedom. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. It's me going out and looking for everyone. Everyone has a different idea of freedom, and it's just interesting and how it all kind of comes together.
How you doing finding freedom?
I mean, it's funny because if you just mention it in passing, people are like, "Oh, all our freedom should be taken away." Like that's and then you kind of get into it and you realize, like, and then you ask them more questions, you can see them realize, like, well, we're pretty free.
Yeah,
it's usually like the people that are mad about not having, like, people taking away their freedom. It's because they want to do something like mean or just kind of just selfish or kind of like, I don't think they should be able to do that. And that's their idea of freedom. Like, well, that's not freedom.
Freedom isn't the freedom to tell other people how to live their lives.
Yeah, that seems to be the most people that are upset about not having freedom.
I'm pretty sure airports suck compared to what they did in 2001, though. Like,
I just shelled out $85 for the 5-year pre-check.
Oh yeah,
because I fly enough that it's like
that gives you preference or whatever.
Well, I don't have to take my shoes off. I don't have to take stuff out of my bag.
That's worth it for $15 a year.
It's yes.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's worth it for $15 a flight.
And on principle, yes. On principle, I didn't do it for a while. And because I was like, well, I mean, it's extortion. They created the obstacle.
Yep.
And now they say, well, for some money, you can get around this obstacle. And my girlfriend pointed out, she's like, well, you can afford it. And it's like, yeah, you're right. And it does. It's like that. You're not going to stop them from doing it.
No, now, Billy Wayne, I watched some of your videos on YouTube of you performing stand-up, and so you're a stand-up comedian. You go and perform at various different clubs, and one of the parts of at least the act that I saw on YouTube was that you've been to jail. So, I mean, they're going to let you into this little club with the TSA once you've already been to jail for something?
Yeah, I think they realize, like, I'm not dangerous.
Who are they blocking out of there? I mean, because we've both been to jail, maybe we should try this thing.
The pre-check?
Yeah.
You guys can do it.
It's just anybody will give them $85 is good.
It really does seem. I mean, I had to get. I mean, it's funny too. Like, I avoided getting an iPhone 5 for a while because you can put your fingerprint on there.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I just started laughing. I was like, "Oh, Billy, you've been arrested twice. They have your stuff.
Right, they know
just
your
go ahead and use the iPhone at this point." So yeah, they took your fingerprints and kind of thing and your social security.
Where did you have to go to?
I had to go to
TSA?
an office called something Access, a different total company in Glendale, California. And
so they had a contractor that
it's
going to screen you, basically.
Yeah, and even during the process, I looked it up online what I needed to bring, and if you don't have this, you need to bring this, kind of like going to get your license. And I had all the stuff. And they also do other things. They clear other people for stuff, for government stuff. This company did.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of it, she's like, "Oh, I can't give this to you because you don't have this and this." And I was like, and then she said, "See?" And I was looking at the paper and I was like, "No, I have all these things. You didn't read that right." And she went, "Oh, okay, yeah, here, yeah, you're good." Dip, dip, dip. And I was like, "Oh, so this is straight up just for the $85."
That's sounds like it.
Yeah, that's when it hit me. I was like, "Oh, this isn't about safety at all."
Well, it's security theater. I mean, this is something we've been covering for years on Free Talk Live. Is the security theater of the TSA? The idea that they're putting on a show for people. That ultimately they fail their own tests constantly.
Mm-hmm.
At least the last time the data leaked out, I think, which was in 2009. Certainly, they've been around for most of a decade at that point.
Yeah, the red team is what they call the.
So it's
team that tests themselves.
Right. They try to get bombs and guns and things like that through their own checkpoints. And what was it, 60 to 70% fail rate on that, I think is what it was?
The numbers that I saw it was 70, 75, 80, and then 100% fail rate on the 3 different leaks that
I don't remember
found.
the 100% one. But yeah, anyway, they're not very good at doing this whole security thing. So really it's just for the show to get people to think that they're doing something useful. Yeah.
It's a mental exercise to make people think they're safe.
Well, think about this. I mean, if you were a terrorist, and hopefully you're not, but
I am not.
But
I'll say that on air. I am not a terrorist.
If you wanted to terrorize
but
people,
to be fair, that's what a terrorist would say.
If you wanted to kill massive amounts of people at an airport, you just have to set your bomb off before you go through security, right?
Right at the screening thing.
You go in, and as there's a lot of people waiting, like during a busy time, there's going to be maybe a couple hundred people in that line for security. You just set it off right there.
Here's the hole in your.
Please, find me the hole.
Terrorists aren't rational thinking people to begin with.
All we need is one.
I think they're more about the show too.
Well, yeah, they want the show of being able to take a plane down for sure, but
more than taking lives. I think they're about. I don't think they're about numbers.
But if it was your goal to take lives, the security theater actually would make it easier because there's a bunch of people all bunched up there right by the security checkpoint.
That is I never thought about that, but now I'm even happier that I took the pre-check, so I can just slide right back on.
Exactly.
So do you not have to wait in line either? You're scooting around the line?
It's a lot quicker, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, every now and then, and I get indignant about it. There'll be like 5.
Hey, I paid my $85 and I had to
like
deal with a
5 people
bureaucrat.
in front of me instead of 25, and there's and I have to wait like 3 minutes. There's a time where I'm like, paid $85. And then I quickly realized, like, you are an a-hole.
Yeah. Thank you for that, by the way. We are on the radio. The toll-free number.
Said it.
The toll-free number here tonight, by the way, if you want to join us, it's open phones, as always, here on Free Talk Live. And of course, we did bring stuff in to talk about. But like I said, this is, and it hasn't really been that yet, but it's going to be.
I want to ask you guys questions.
Yeah, you've got questions for us, and we're going to get into that here. So what would be one of the first ones that you wanted to ask?
And why Keene?
Why Keene? Well,
oh God, I ask myself that every day. Every day.
So you've, how familiar are you with the Free State Project at this point?
I've read your website, and then I did some Robin Hooding.
By your website, do you mean the Free State Project's
Yes.
website? Okay, because it's not my website. I'm just a participant in the Free State Project.
Okay.
I didn't create the Free State Project. Mark and I moved here in 2006 as a part of the Free State Project.
Ian's Mover 420.
That's right.
You say what?
Mover 420. You might have already figured that out.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, we moved here, and it's been great so far. And the reason why Keene was my destination, because there's again 1,700 people are here now as part of the Free State Project
in Keene.
No, all across New Hampshire.
Okay.
So the idea of the Free State Project is to move 20,000 liberty-loving people who love freedom and want to actually do something about it, move them to New Hampshire, or encourage them to move. Like, we're not actually moving them, but when they get here, we'll help them move in. We won't help them pack the truck where they're leaving from. But anyway, Keene is one of a myriad of destinations. Lots of people are moving into Manchester, the Seacoast, Concord. So, out in the woods. There's plenty of people living in the woods.
Yeah.
But I chose Keene because of some of the earliest movers, people who moved before I did, who were doing some really amazing civil disobedience. We can talk more about it here in a little bit. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We've got Billy Wayne Davis with us here. If you want to jump in, you're welcome to join us on Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Hi, Ron Paul here. Today I have an urgent message for every American who's retired or thinking about retiring soon. You see, our own government's disastrous policies have now put you, me, and everyone over the age of 50 at great risk. Sometime in the near future, we're going to have yet another financial crisis. This one won't be solved with bailouts, and it will hit seniors the hardest. I fear there will be civil unrest, a drop in stock prices, pension fund collapses, big changes to Social Security and Medicare, the erosion of personal liberties, bank and brokerage closings, and ultimately a major crisis as the U.S. dollar is rejected for almost any non-paper alternative.
Don't let this happen to your retirement. Dr. Ron Paul strongly believes when the next crisis hits, there will be no warning, and the government won't save you. Go online to www.ronpaulwarning10.com, where you'll learn simple steps you can take to protect your retirement. Go to www.ronpaulwarning10.com.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
Are you looking for an excuse to come check out New Hampshire this fall? You're invited to Keenevention. Keenevention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, do some Robin Hooding, and learn about making the move. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year's keynote speeches and panels will be announced via the Keenvention blog and Facebook, so stay tuned there for the latest. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 30th through November 1st. Tickets are available now at a special early bird price of just $50 via credit card or Bitcoin. That $50 price only lasts through the end of June, so don't delay. Reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more and look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info. Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
We're back with more Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that you want. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Even though we've got the special guest on and it's sort of this experimental reverse interview thing, you can still call in and talk to us and Billy Wayne Davis, who
I'll
is
ask you questions
with us here. Yeah, we're going to continue with that here in a moment, but I want to tell you about how to get Bitcoin. It was something you were asking me about off the air, Billy Wayne. ExpressCoin is probably the best choice for getting your cryptocurrency of choice. Maybe you want to get some of those altcoins. They've got Litecoin and Dogecoin as well. It's fast, safe, easy, and inexpensive. They're a licensed money services business, and you can get your cryptocurrency with money order or check. Just go to expresscoin.com, whether you're in the U.S. or Canada. Again, that's expresscoin.com. You can even do it from your smartphone. They've got an app. They make it easy. And if you're, let's say you're new to Bitcoin, you're not so sure about getting this Bitcoin stuff, you can pay no fee on up to $40 worth of cryptocurrency by using coupon code FTL at expresscoin.com. So that's code FTL, like Free Talk Live, expresscoin.com. You'll get up to $40 worth for no fee. But if you go over $40, the fee is very affordable. It's probably the best in the industry that I have seen. I think it's a 3% fee over at expresscoin.com. So, Billy Wayne, we were talking about, actually during the break, the sort of the libertarian movement. You'd asked me a question about why Keene? Why did we move to Keene? And sort of briefly explain the Free State Project, which is the idea of moving liberty-loving people here to New Hampshire. Keene was my choice because of Russell Canning and Lauren Canario, two of the earliest movers, people who, right after the Free State Project chose, the members voted on which state to move to. There were 10 candidate states. New Hampshire won overwhelmingly.
Really?
And immediately after the vote, people started moving here. And so it was those earliest movers who came here, and they started doing civil disobedience and street theater that I had never seen happen before in the libertarian movement, because I was involved with the Libertarian Party back in Florida. And when you're involved with the Libertarian Party, all that ever happens for the most part is, every 4 years somebody runs for election and then loses miserably.
Yeah.
That's generally about it. Otherwise, they get together once a week or once a month and they bitch and moan about the government and really don't do much else.
Yeah.
So when I saw people doing civil disobedience and, cool street theater that was fun and entertaining, I thought, wow, I've got to be where those people are. I want to bring my radio show up to this place where I can help propagate what these people are putting out there. Because there was already a guy who was up here kind of recording and putting out videos. This was before YouTube. This was back when it was Google Video, I think it was, a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And so somebody was already here with a video camera, but I had a camera, and I thought, I want to record. I want to get another angle on this. I want to put this out there on my show. And so that, for me, was my motivation. I wanted to be on the ground and help get the word out about what I consider to be probably the most exciting aspect of the liberty movement at that time. And it infected me, and then I became one of the civil disobedience and since been arrested 7-8 times, something like that.
Nice.
You were sort of against political action when we moved up, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I was pretty burned out on politics.
Yeah, and so, I mean, to you, outside the system activism or civil disobedience or whatever was a solution even before you moved.
Yeah, I would say so. But I've warmed up to the political system since having moved to New Hampshire and learning how accessible it is. There's over 400 state reps here in New Hampshire, which is the largest legislative body of all of the 50 states by far. So each state rep represents around 3,000 people here if you do the division.
Okay.
So you can actually know who these people are. They really are your neighbors in a lot of cases. And you can call them, the phone numbers, they'll give you phone numbers for them on the state website. Almost all the time you're calling them at their house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you've ever tried to contact somebody in California or Tennessee, they don't want to hear what you have to say.
I know one of the most heartbreaking things that happened in my childhood, and well, it wasn't heartbreaking. It's just one of those kills your innocence. Where we were at the state capitol on a field trip, and our governor. He said, "Where are y'all from?" And I said, "Crossville." And he said, "Oh, that's Putnam County, which is not our county." And I remember just our whole class was audibly went, "Oh."
He got it wrong.
Yeah, he got it wrong. And I was like, these guys don't know anything. And I remember being sixth grade thinking that, it's all a sham.
That's why he joined the politicians, right? Because they can't do anything productive with their lives. So, yeah, I've warmed up to politics since having moved here, and I'll go to the State House and testify on the marijuana legalization and things like that, a variety of different issues. Because in New Hampshire, you can actually have an effect on the political system, unlike pretty much every other state.
Now, why is that? Why is New Hampshire so different than every other state? What makes it different?
Good question. It probably helps that the state reps get paid $100 a year.
Right. When you're looking at other states, you're talking 49 states and the federal government are of lawyer industrial complexes. When you look at the amount of people that are legislators and you start separating them by the job they had before they stopped working, then you'll find that the vast majority, 90% plus of these people, are lawyers. Well, not in New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, because they get paid $100 a year, or it's actually $200 every 2 years because they don't bother writing them the second check. They get a gas stipend, but that's it, right? Because they don't have these paychecks, the unsuccessful attorneys look elsewhere for their bread and butter. And what we have instead are idealistic ideologues and geriatrics that go up there and do it instead. So it's a different sort of folk. And what we've found is that New Hampshire, the system is hard to change. It's one of the reasons that New Hampshire has been rated the #1 freest state by the Mercatus Center 2 out of the 4 times that they rated states, and consistently in the top 5. And it's because it's difficult to change their system. They got these 400 citizens in there. Now it's hard to undo the bad stuff that's been done too.
So that's why New Hampshire's behind the ball on marijuana legalization or decriminalization. So all the surrounding states have decriminalized cannabis. Maine, Massachusetts, Vermont have all decriminalized. New Hampshire's way behind the ball on that. But that's, again, because it is hard to change, but it also means it's a lot harder to make government larger here. And so
infiltrate it with lobbyists and things like that.
Well, lobbyists exist here.
Yeah.
But, there's not as much power. Each one of those 400 reps, that's 1 out of 400, right? So they don't sway a whole lot of political
Nobody's paying
influence.
off a rep who, I mean, with 400 people, you're practically talking about a town vote, as far as it goes. I mean, there's just so many reps that you're really trying to sway a much larger group than the vast, it's the
So there really is a consensus.
Yeah, there's
to
a
make
fourth.
something happen.
It's the fourth largest legislative body in the world, the third largest in the English-speaking world.
Well, there's also the Senate, which has 24, so it's a much smaller body there, and that's in a lot of cases, especially with pot, for instance, that's where the cannabis bills have been dying, is the Senate. Now, the decrim bill this year passed the House by 80%.
Oh, okay.
So that's it's almost a mandate at 80%. That's a super majority. So we've yet to see what the New Hampshire Senate will do with that. Maybe this will be the year that they finally pass it. It seems to do a little better every year. And, of course, the idea here is let's move more liberty-loving people to New Hampshire so we can have even more of an influence on the political system here. Because right now, as I mentioned,
what would you want to do?
That 1,700 is only about 10% of the total number of people who've signed up for the Free State Project. We've got over 16,000 people who've signed up for the Free State Project, but only 1,700 of them are actually here. So we haven't yet triggered that official move date. All the people, Mark, myself, everybody who you're meeting up here, we're all early movers. The official move hasn't even begun. So ponder that for a moment.
I am pondering that. Is everyone preparing?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to happen. The move is going to happen. We're going to reach 20,000 signers.
I mean, the comedian me, it sounds a lot like a cult and being like, this is when the comet's coming.
Let's talk about that here in a moment. Because I've been accused of being a cult leader. 855-450-FREE.
Well, there are worse things to be accused of.
Toll-free number.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for $35,000. You heard right, that's 5,000 square feet for $35,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Call 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
Cato University is the Cato Institute's premier educational event of the year. It's being held this year from July the 26th to the 31st at the Cato Institute's state-of-the-art headquarters in Washington, D.C. This annual program brings together outstanding faculty and participants from across the country and often from around the globe, with everyone sharing a commitment to liberty and learning. Cato University is a genuine community, and you can freely share viewpoints, concerns, ideas, questions, and more in an atmosphere of friendship and personal respect. It's a one-of-a-kind program for people who don't stop thinking after they got out of school. It's for people who don't want politicians or bureaucrats or officials to do their thinking for them. It's for people who value liberty. You'll learn, you'll be inspired, you'll make new friends. You'll meet great people from around the world. All of the details are spelled out at the Cato website, cato.org, and they hope to see you there this summer, July the 26th through the 31st in Washington, D.C. Again, details are at cato.org.
New Hampshire is under quarantine as walking corpses devour the flesh of the living. Max is 11 years old and surviving alone. Slow-moving and non-thinking, the dead swarm his home. Now he must apply his Porcupine Freedom Scouts training to improvise his escape. Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, or read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Thank you, Jode. I appreciate you taking up this issue.
Berto, if a man ain't cooked crisp on the Hellfire Desert, ain't he ought to be left on his own?
Well, right, Jode. Immigrants are desperate for a better way of life.
We need the strongest of these crude backward browns to keep us all alive. I see the ones that can swim the Rio Grande, too. Berto, you swum that border river to get here, ain't you?
Joe, not all Mexicans came here by swimming the Rio Grande.
No. I got sympathy. I crossed Huron Lake in the barrel myself using hands as paddles. Lived off the carp. What jumped at me? Now, you swum that river,
No,
ain't you?
Joe, actually, I was born here.
What you know about hard work? Ain't never swum no river.
Many immigrants, they
I say you
deserve
ain't never
to be...
knowed a man till you seen his teeth. Show him your teeth. Too many teeth rotting out shows you're dishonest in the mind. You got strong manful teeth, Barto. I apologize.
This is the Onion News Network.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
We're back with more Free Talk Live. You can dial in and join us here toll free at 855-450-FREE. If you like, we've also got Skype. You can Skype in at username LRN.FM. And if you get online at all, you should be concerned about your privacy. If you've been paying attention to the news, you know about Edward Snowden and all of the NSA revelations that have come out that have basically revealed that you pretty much don't have privacy by default, but you can work at it. You can add privacy into your life, and one of the steps I recommend you take is to get ProXPN. ProXPN.com/FTL is where you can go to download their free app for Windows, Macintosh, iOS devices, as well as Android or Linux. Whatever your operating system you're on, you can probably use ProXPN. You can get it for free over at proxpn.com/FTL. Then get connected, and they will encrypt your internet connection, which means that people are trying to sniff out what you're doing online, maybe packet sniffing with Wi-Fi, or maybe your internet service provider just logging all the websites that you visit, which they probably do, and probably are keeping those logs for years. You can stop all of that from happening by getting connected with ProXPN. So again, go to proxpn.com/FTL. When you're ready to upgrade to their premium account, you'll get unlimited bandwidth, servers around the world that you can access. You can privately torrent and get past regionally blocked websites. Plus, ProXPN doesn't keep records of your online habits at all. You get it all with a risk-free 7-day money-back guarantee. Don't forget to use code FTL50, and you'll save 50% off the price of their annual account, which, by the way, locks in that price for the lifetime of your account. So when you're ready for year number 2, you'll still get the same great deal. ProXPN.com/FTL. Promo code is FTL50. You'll get a great discount on privacy that is priceless. Free Talk Live back here. Ian and Mark in the studio. Billy Wayne Davis is with us here tonight, sort of reverse interviewing us for the purposes of a documentary that's actually being filmed in the background here. So let's see, Billy Wayne, where were we? We were talking about New Hampshire.
We were talking about the Free State Movement and you guys coming here to Keene and how
right.
the legislation works. I'm curious, and you keep saying you can make a change, you can do things here. What are your goals? What kind of change do you want?
So the goal of the Free State Project, so each individual's got different goals, right? But the Free State Project's goal is to encourage 20,000 people to move here and then do what they feel is best to achieve more liberty in our lifetime, meaning more specifically that the maximum role of government should be to protect.
Maximum role of government would only protect life, liberty, and property. So, all these malum prohibitum laws and all these sorts of things out the window.
Right. So drastic downsizing of the sort of the current state of affairs that we have in government today to a much smaller government. But there are also people within the liberty movement here who don't believe in the idea of government, right? So if the maximum role of government is those things, then the minimum role could be zero. And so within the Free State Project, there's a range. There's people who are kind of the small government folks, and there are the people who are the no state folks. I'm one of the no state folks.
So they're completely anti-government?
Well, I'm pro self-government, right? I think that you should be able to take care of your own business. You should be self-governing. You shouldn't go around and litter on people's property.
Would you call yourself an anarchist?
No, not at all. Because the term anarchist, I think, has a connotation of like bomb throwing and destruction of property.
Yeah, definitely.
And I believe in property rights.
Okay.
So I'm a voluntarist. I'm somebody who believes that all human interaction should be on a consensual basis. That threatening people to try to get them to do what you want them to do is the wrong way to go about it. Like the hallmark of a bad idea is when you have to threaten somebody with a cage or, forced extraction of their wealth in order to get them to pay for it. If it's a good idea, and like roads, for instance, I like roads. I like roads that are
pretty
in good shape.
Pretty solid idea.
Yeah, roads are a good idea. So I'm happy to pay for roads. You don't have to threaten me to pay for the roads. But the government threatens you for everything. I mean, every single government program, there's a gun. There's a man with a gun standing behind it who's willing to put you in a cage. And to me, that's wrong.
Yeah, so I part ways with Ian in sort of just using the term that he says with the government, because I think that humans need government. The problem that I would point out is that the government, as we have seen it for 9,000 years, this entity called the state, has demanded essentially monopoly privilege in a given landmass. So you don't have here in the United States, if you visit from Canada, you don't follow the Canadian rules, you follow the United States rules in the given landmass. So, or if I'm from New Hampshire, we don't have to wear seatbelts. I can't go down to Florida and not wear a seatbelt.
Yeah.
But you kind of ask yourself why. I mean, why is that? That's kind of weird that I moved from one geographic area to another geographic area and all the rules change. So what I would propose instead, not to doing away from government, but to decoupling government from land masses. And I think that that's really sort of it's a distinction that's not talked about very often.
Like, do you mean like get rid of nationalism?
I'd like to do that personally.
Yeah, I think that nationalism is mostly used as a tool by politicians.
At this point, I think in the beginning it was more of like, this is what this is called.
I like the look. I like flags and I like eagles as much as anybody, right? Like one small tear has snaked its way down my cheek, more than one time when seeing FAA teams fly over football games and those sorts of things. I'm not going to disclaim that. I'm only going to say that when you have flags that people who the politicians wrap themselves in them, and that ultimately, like if we look at the last 6 or 7 decades, you have to ask yourself, all these sacrifices that were made for this flag by these brave young people.
Yeah.
What were they made for? And you kind of, you look at Vietnam and it's like, well, what was the success story there? You look at Korea, what's the success story there? Many
Bell
people
helicopters.
What's that?
Bell helicopters.
Right.
That was the most successful part of the Vietnam.
Well, yeah, the industry does very, very well.
Yeah.
The war machine, if you will. And now we're getting into more of a national level thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm no fan of the state. And I agree with Mark. The term government gets people confused. I don't like the idea of the state, which is this concept. It doesn't exist. It's just an idea that justifies violence against peaceful people.
Okay,
whether it's the war on drugs or whatever it is you want to pick out, there's always violence behind all of these state programs. If I don't want to participate, some men with guns are going to come at some point and they're going to threaten me, and if I don't go along with them, they might hurt me or worse.
Yeah, it seems to me that the fundamental thing you guys are fighting is, and to me, what creates the violence and telling people don't do that and put them in a cage is fear. Everything is fear-based.
Sure.
Yeah, the state is a fear-based organization. It constantly has to have a boogeyman, and it has to have several boogeymen running around at a given time.
But I don't think the state necessarily has to have a boogeyman. I think certain people need a boogeyman to go, that's why I have this feeling inside, is that thing is causing it. Instead of just realizing that we all have like weird emotions.
I think there's some truth to that. In fact, you could argue that the state exists because of people's fear, right? Because it's essentially,
in many cases, justifiable fears, right? Like you need protection services. There's no doubt about it. But do we want a monopoly in
preventing
that?
Giant, mean men from just taking little dudes and throwing them wherever they want.
That has happened in the past. Yes.
Yes, and still happens.
Right, it does, and now they work for the government.
They're recruited to work.
So there's people all around the United States and around the world, for that matter, who've come to similar conclusions, whether they want to end the state entirely or they just want to minimize it. There are people like us, and we want to send a signal out to those people to say, hey, we're over here in New Hampshire. Come join us.
Yeah.
Let's get the libertarian types, or the libertarians, or the voluntarists, or whatever you want to call them. Get them together so we can concentrate ourselves. Because you
like
mentioned
a think tank, kind of.
But more than that, an activist, because think tank, they just sit around and think.
No, but yeah.
But activists, like to actually do things to achieve more freedom in our lifetime, whether it's civil disobedience or whether it's working inside the system, running for political office, all of those things are happening here in New Hampshire. and we're having an impact here because the state is so small. So you move a fairly large amount of people to this one place, and you can have a much larger impact than the libertarians can anywhere else. I mean, imagine this for a moment. Libertarians are actually winning elections in New Hampshire. Now, they're winning as Republicans and Democrats, but these are principled, liberty-loving people.
Because they have to register that way, right?
Yeah, you can't actually register as a libertarian in New Hampshire.
Or an independent, can you?
That's correct. You can register as undeclared, Democrat or Republican.
I want, when we come, I guess I hear the
yep.
If people are against you guys, and I think what you guys are doing are creating an activist incubator more than anything, right?
There's that too, yeah.
Which is very interesting.
There are people who are against us for sure. We can talk about all that.
I want to talk about that one, yeah.
On the way here, 855-450-FREE. More with Billy Wayne Davis. And your calls, if you want to make them, 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live.
Going back to my victim saying, you cost me a lot of misery, and all total, $2,700 in doggy fees, and all it took was one container of Dynamite, 2 pounds, 3 ounces, and my dog has been cured. Abby's a 5-year-old Silky Terrier. She had, like, chicken pox on her belly, clusters of bumps on her back, and she was allergic to, like, 70-some-odd things. So the dermatologist, it was, oh, yeah, just keep giving her needles every 10 days. But she's not clearing up. And then it came up on my radio, Dynamite. DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
And I was like, oh, that's it. I give her the Dynamite after 5 weeks. And one morning there was nothing there. And I'm like, oh, my God, she's all clear. There wasn't one blemish on her body. Her fur is beautiful. She is totally happy. She is a healthy, bump-free, pimple-free, shiny, silky. It turned our lives around. So thank you very much for Dynamite. I couldn't be happier. Dynamite's the bomb.
859-428-1000. 859-428-1000. DINOVITE.com.
If the IRS has garnished your paycheck or seized money from your bank account, you need to get professional tax help now. Fast action is required to put a halt to these aggressive IRS collection tactics. You can count on the knowledgeable team of tax professionals at Wall & Associates. With over 30 years of experience, Wall & Associates has settled the tax problems of thousands of taxpayers for a small fraction of what they owed. For a free face-to-face consultation, call 1-800-425-4610 to put a wall between you and the IRS. 1-800-425-4610 or look for us on the web at wallandassociates.net. We solve tax problems. If you hire Wall & Associates today, you'll never have to talk to the IRS again. To stop the levies and seizures today, take action now. Call Wall & Associates at 1-800-425-4610. Wall & Associates. 1-800-425-4610. Based on actual cases, results may vary, not a solicitation for legal services.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
It's Free Talk Live. You may dial toll-free here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You like the show? You want to help support Free Talk Live? One of the ways you can do it is by shopping with us. You go to shop.freetalklive.com, and you can enter Amazon through the links you'll find there. There's Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, and Amazon US. You go into the right Amazon for you, and Free Talk Live gets a cut of the sale, whatever it is that you're buying. What was pointed out to us recently, though, Mark, and we had not, I don't know if we've ever made this clear, the Amazon links work based on cookies. And apparently, if you've ever been to someone else's Amazon link, someone else's affiliate link, so like, for instance, on our network, LRN.FM, there's a few other shows that do the same, buy through Amazon thing. If you were to have gone to, let's say, one of those other shows, Amazon first, that sets the cookie on your computer. So when you go through our Amazon link at that point, that will not reset the cookie. So if you've ever gone through someone else's Amazon link, you need to go and reset that, or basically delete your cookies first. Then go through our link. That'll set the Free Talk Live cookie on your computer, and then what you buy will a portion will go to us. So make sense, Mark?
I'm just thinking about cookies.
Okay, so you didn't process anything.
Yes, you've got to clear your cookie.
You have to eat your cookies.
Cookie basket thing,
and then you guys get money from the Amazon.
You got
I'm liking that. Yes, that's it.
All right. So again, go to shop.freetalklive.com. Now, Billy Wayne, you're with us here to talk about freedom and your search for freedom, and what have we found for freedom here in New Hampshire? What's this Free State Project all about? And I know there's other places you want to go. You've got questions for us. But we've actually got people on the line who want to talk, and it's talk radio, so we're going to do that. You're going to just join us here for this.
I would love this.
Let's talk first to, we've got Ron. He's in North Carolina listening to Talk Radio 850 out of Raleigh. Hello, Ron.
Hello, you guys. Yeah, I just started listening to your show. You haven't been on this radio station long. I don't know, a couple months now.
Yeah, a few months.
It's a great show, man. I tell you, it's enlightening. I've been you're doing a great job. I'm a lifelong libertarian. Anyhow, I'm 55 years old. I'm from Connecticut originally. Moved down here to North Carolina about 20 years ago, and man, I really love the idea of what you guys are doing. I
cool.
mean, things are just out of control in the freaking government. It just aggravates me to listen to the news and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to bounce something off you, and I think there's a lot of people that feel the same way that I do that would, love to move to New Hampshire. In my case, my mom lives up there now. She's up in her years, and she got a house in Stoddard that, I'm in a will for it, and she hasn't got too much time left, and I keep pondering about, do I want to go back to live up north? The winters are kind of harsh compared to North Carolina, and at the same time, sell that house, move back up there, take part in this free movement, this free state movement kind of thing. But it kind of worries me. Like I said, I'm too old or too young to retire, too old to really start a new career, and I just the economy up there. What is it like? I mean, it surely would be hard to find a decent job where you could, make ends meet, wouldn't it be?
Well, I don't know. I can't speak to decent jobs, right? I don't know. Like I brought my job with me when we moved up 8 or 9 years ago. But I can say that as far as having jobs, New Hampshire is among the best unemployment rates in
one of the lowest of the whole country.
One of the lowest in the whole country, and certainly the Northeast we do quite well. Median income up here tends to be quite high compared to most states.
Right, you don't have the income tax, you don't have a state sales tax either, so there's not as much of a tax burden in New Hampshire. There's not as much of regulations in New Hampshire. Licensing laws are not as common here as well. So there's just generally more
Does that
freedom.
attract more businesses?
I think it does.
Kind of like how Hartford attracts all the credit card companies because of their lax laws.
Well, I mean, I know you guys aren't like the, Chamber of Commerce per se, but at the same time, if you're trying to get people to move up there, myself included, it may be good to kind of promote some kind of jobs that are available.
The Free State Project has that, right? So if you go to freestateproject.org, they have there's
Hunt
segments
around for their forum, and their forum has a jobs section.
There's more than that, though, Mark. There's a Facebook group where people post jobs that are available, and if you look on the Free State Project's website, you'll find resources about, moving, housing, jobs. All of that stuff is there at freestateproject.org. We're not going to get on the air and say, well, I want to let you know there's a job at Campus Convenience available here in Keene, New Hampshire. That's just not going to work for a national radio show.
I know, I understand, and just the fact that you mentioned those things that you just did, I've never heard that said on the air before, so that certainly is a good promotion thing for you. And how about, as far as jobs within that Free State movement itself, is there anything like that?
Oh, yeah, we wish we made enough money to pay somebody to do something.
Yeah, unfortunately, nobody very few people involved with Free Talk Live actually get paid. I don't even know if Billy Wayne's getting paid here tonight.
Yeah, we managed to scrape by. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, I'm not getting paid for this?
You're out of here.
I gotta go, guys.
So, Ron, that's what I'd recommend you do. Check out freestateproject.org. There's a lot of good resources that you can link to from there, and I think that'll help open up. And by the way, have you also seen the 101 Reasons movie yet?
No, I have not.
You should do that. 101reasonsfilm.com. It's an hour-long documentary that goes over. There's a text list of the 101 reasons that was created years ago about why people should move to New Hampshire who love freedom. And then, like last year, they've wrapped production on this awesome documentary, very, very well produced. I'm not just saying that because I'm a co-producer. I had nothing to do with the awesome factor. That was all Bo Davis, who's the editor.
Netflix or something? How can I?
No, but it's free online, so you can just go to 101.
It's better than Netflix.
Yeah, 101reasonsfilm.com. That'll link you right to the YouTube video of it, and I think it's a very persuasive documentary. And I thank you for the call tonight, Ron. And feel free to call back with any other questions.
Good work.
Thanks, we will. And feel free to call back with any other questions you have about New Hampshire. And we've been getting a lot of them actually from you, Billy Wayne, tonight.
Yes, and Ron, come see me at Charlie Goodnight's when I'm in Raleigh. Okay.
So you played there before?
Yes, I like Raleigh. My girlfriend's from Durham, so.
So let's go on with James. He's in Kalamazoo. James, you're on Free Talk Live.
Well, hello, gentlemen. First off, I think it's funny that the gentleman from Arizona last night that shares my name felt the need to attack me for some reason.
Really? So, I don't even remember.
It's a Free Talk Live flame war. What do you want?
Anyway, what I wanted to talk about is how the state of Michigan will not give me permission to drive due to a really ridiculous law that has since been repealed. Essentially, what they were doing was that they were double dipping. They called it the driver responsibility fee. And essentially what it did is if you got caught for certain violations or got a certain number of points on your license, you'd have to go to court, pay the fine, and then turn around and pay the Department of Treasury some outrageous amount, money in order to keep the license. Mm-hmm. So you have essentially whatever.
It's a fine on top of a fine, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty common all across the United States, actually.
Yeah, Washington State, if you get in trouble, and I did, for DUI, you get there's the criminal part, and then there's the license part. It's totally different. Even if you're not convicted and acquitted like I was, my license was still suspended just for being arrested for it.
Well, yeah, and of course it's a ridiculous fine. It was like $1,000 for 2 years, and so of course I kept driving because it's like I can't afford. First off, I don't think that the state that I should be forced to get a document with my picture on it to have permission to drive my vehicle. I don't think that that's right, but furthermore. People just wanted to go to work and make whatever living they could, and they had a vehicle and couldn't afford these fines, and so of course they'd get popped again for something like out tail light or license plate light in my case. So I just wanted to point out just how ridiculous it was. It ended up getting repealed because they were spending more money trying to enforce it than they were actually bringing into the Treasury.
So, yeah, thanks for sharing that. A lot of these states, and especially here in New Hampshire, is one of the problems with New Hampshire. They take driving offenses real seriously here. When I was in jail for civil disobedience, and James, thank you for the call. When I was in jail for 58 days for civil disobedience,
was that the official charge?
No. It
Okay.
was was it?
You were sitting on the
obstructing
hood of
government administration.
You sat down on the hood of a cop car.
Yeah, and then resisting arrest on top of that. But I was only convicted of the first charge, not the second. Anyway, when I was in there was a guy who was there for a year for driving while license suspended, and he wasn't driving drunk. He was just there because he was driving to work, and years ago there was some fine that he didn't pay, and so his license got suspended in New Hampshire. Then he moved back to New Hampshire and started working again, and had never cleared that up, and so right into jail he went for an entire year.
How for a year? I mean, that happened to me in Idaho.
Well, he was a multiple term offender. There's a certain term for that. It's habitual. Thank you. Right now. So once they apply that habitual label to you, you're done for the next time you get popped. He never hurt anybody. He didn't put anybody in danger. He just hadn't paid the state. So he spent a year in jail. Well, he's got kids. 855.
Which cost him.
Hold that thought. 855 450 free. This is Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom, and with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
New Hampshire is under quarantine as walking corpses devour the flesh of the living. Max is 11 years old and surviving alone. Slow-moving and non-thinking, the dead swarm his home. Now he must apply his Porcupine Freedom Scouts training to improvise his escape. Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, or read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross may be spending the rest of his life in prison. His family is planning to appeal his conviction, but they need your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Ross needs your help now more than ever. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, April 23rd, 2015. Silver is trading at $15.89 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,190 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $236. Antiwar.com reports on Tuesday afternoon, facing growing criticism for massive civilian death tolls, Saudi Arabia announced the end to its airstrikes against Yemen, claiming they had accomplished their military objectives. By Wednesday morning, Saudi warplanes were once again pounding targets at several sites in Yemen, leaving many to wonder what the point was of Tuesday's mission accomplished moment. The Saudis seemed keen to rebrand Operation Decisive Storm amid the growing death toll, but it's hard to imagine anyone else will see the new operation as anything but the old operation under a different name. Yemen's Houthis, the primary target of Saudi strikes, continue to urge a cessation of hostilities and negotiations under UN auspices. The Saudis have publicly insisted that the only end they'll expect to the war is the reinstallation of former President Hadi, who resigned in January and is now living in exile in Riyadh, awaiting a second shot at being a ruler with no electoral mandate, but with substantial international military backing. For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell from Kentucky introduced a bill on Tuesday to extend the controversial USA Patriot Act and its surveillance provisions until 2020. The extension would allow the NSA to continue to collect data on millions of U.S. phone records daily. The NSA does so under the authority of Section 215, which allows for secret court orders to collect tangible things that could be used by the government in investigations. Section 215 expires on June 1st. The NSA's mass collection program was revealed by former contractor Edward Snowden, which sparked a debate about privacy, security, and the reach of government surveillance. Senator Patrick Leahy from Vermont said in a statement, despite overwhelming consensus that the bulk collection of Americans' phone records under Section 215 of the USA Patriot Act must end, Senate Republican leaders are proposing to extend that authority without change. This tone-deaf attempt to pave the way for 5.5 more years of unchecked surveillance will not succeed. I will oppose any reauthorization of Section 215 that does not contain meaningful reforms. Leahy and a bipartisan group of lawmakers on the House Judiciary Committee are attempting to end the NSA's mass collection of records. Harley Geiger, policy counsel at the Center for Democracy and Technology, said, the Senate Majority Leader's bill makes no attempt to protect Americans' privacy or reform ongoing NSA surveillance programs that do not provide any tangible benefit to national security. For Americans concerned about government intrusion in their lives, the bill is a kick in the stomach. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports police in Utah said on Wednesday they had arrested a 25-year-old man on suspicion of arson after he told police officers he lit a brush fire that burned dozens of acres to signal for help after his car got stuck. The Grand County Sheriff's Office said its deputies, local firefighters, and Bureau of Land Management workers responded to a report of Monday's blaze, which destroyed up to 40 acres of old-growth cottonwood trees and other vegetation and threatened several structures. In a statement, the Sheriff's Office said a vehicle had become stuck near where the fire started when the driver had tried to turn around on the hillside. The driver, Weston Frank Viteri of Green River, Utah, told law enforcers that he had started a fire as a signal for help. One firefighter sustained burns when he stepped into a hole created by a burned-out stump and was transported to Moab Regional Hospital. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. According to a Stanford University study released Wednesday, there is no logical reason why planes are able to fly. Reiterating that they fully understand the concepts of lift, thrust, and propulsion, lead physicists told reporters they were still unable to reasonably explain how a large 500,000-pound object is capable of staying up in the air without falling.
We've come up with several theories, including wind propulsion, some sort of gravity suspension effect, also the possibility that the clouds pull the plane skyward, but beyond that, just don't understand how a large metal tube could just kind of float in the air like that. And it's going at like 500 miles per hour, which means that when I'm on a plane, I'm also going 500 miles per hour? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, why is my hair blowing back and forth?
The Stanford team added they plan to devote the next 2 years to a new study on why telephones can hear. In other news, an urban planner is stuck in traffic of his own design, and a kid screams behind a passenger during an entire plane crash. Visit theonion.com/newsbeat for more.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And you can also join us via Skype at Skype username LRN.FM. Things are a little different here on this edition of Free Talk Live. Our normal Thursday night co-host is not here tonight to make room for somebody we've never met before tonight, Billy Wayne Davis. Welcome back here for the second hour of Free Talk Live. Thanks for sticking with us.
Thanks for letting me stick with you guys. This is fun.
Yeah, I think it's been going well. You are here as part of a search for freedom.
Yes,
it's
I'm on a journey.
A documentary crew is with you as well, and that's what brings you to us here tonight. You found out about the Free State Project, and Free Keene, and some of the activism that's been going on up here, and you've had a lot of questions about that. So it's almost like you're kind of interviewing us while at the same time we're interviewing you. You're sort of a guest co-host at this point, so welcome.
I like to think of it, we're having a wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
Like a back and forth that doesn't happen as much as it should anymore.
Well, it happens every night here on Free Talk Live, but I'm glad that you're a part of it tonight. So,
well, usually, and I'm a stand-up comedian, so usually when I talk, I do not want people to talk back.
Yeah, I saw there's a video of you being somebody throwing ice at you on YouTube.
You know, some people don't know how to party. You know what I mean?
That is definitely a party foul.
Yeah, that's they just don't know what substances they should and shouldn't mix, and I think.
They take it out on the comedian.
Well, and the funny thing is, in that instance, there was a white gentleman on before me who was bombing pretty hard, just like no laughs, like it was just quiet.
Is it hard to come on after somebody like that? Or are you like, oh, this is great, I'm gonna knock him dead?
It can I mean, I've been doing it long enough now that it's like I got it. Okay, I know how to get them back.
Yep,
kind of thing. But there are some times where it'll take 10 minutes, your whole set, to really reset the room.
Where they're just so soured that...
Where they're just kind of like, what happened, And the guy, he was a young comic. He wasn't doing well. And then about 2 minutes into just not doing well, he decided, hey, I'll just start talking about race.
Oh, boy.
Which is, already a fun subject that everyone likes to talk about. And that just made it worse. And this woman was obviously kind of in a blackout. She had that gloss over her eyes where it's like, I've been drinking and I like pills.
No.
And she accused me of being racist.
So she thought you were him.
Yes, basically. Which she thought I was another white guy, which I thought was, she was a black lady.
You are another white guy,
yes,
but you weren't the same.
She thought I was a different white guy, which is because...
I did mention you were on, there's some stuff of you on YouTube, but we didn't give you a chance yet. Do you have a website?
I have a Tumblr. If you Google Billy Wayne Davis, all that junk comes up. There's so much social stuff. Like if I push my website, someone would be like, "Well, what's your Twitter?" So just like at this point, it's like Google my name and whatever social thing you like. I've got one of them.
Billy Wayne Davis. All right. So where are we going next? I mean, you've got questions. We've got answers.
I'm so fascinated with people that there's now a movement called Stop Free Keene, which fascinates me.
Yeah. They've got their own website and Facebook group and everything.
What have you guys done to, motivate people not to like you?
Well, whenever you do activism, then somebody's not going to like it. I mean, generally, activists are hated. Period. I mean, just there's been a study, I think, done of Americans in general, just their opinions about activism.
I imagine it's worldwide would be my guess.
Yeah, Americans don't like activism, period. They don't like people getting out there and getting a message out. It disrupts their normal day. They have to look at some sign or
in all honesty, when someone calls themselves an activist, there is a visceral thing in me where I'm just kind of like, ugh. God.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, like someone say I'm a model/actor. It's the same thing. Like, don't say that out loud.
I embrace it. I mean, that's what I do,
I'm not saying, but I'm just being honest.
No, sure. No, I
that is a
that.
real thing. And you're talking about people like, it's a visceral feeling. It's like, I might even be behind the cause. It's still somebody like, I'm an activist about, we should have more oxygen or something,
Maybe there's a better word for it, but I mean, generally and I don't know who said this. I'm sure I'm going to butcher this paraphrasing, but that... all the significant changes in the world have been brought about because of a very small, dedicated group of people who are willing
to do
brush
something. Fires in people's minds.
Yeah, who are willing to actually do something about it. But as soon as the libertarians don't have to worry about this in most places because they don't have an impact. We were talking earlier about the Libertarian Party, right? Like, Libertarian Party candidate runs, they get 2%, 3% if it's a really good election. And, the Republicans and Democrats don't even break a sweat. They don't even have to worry about this because the Libertarians aren't getting into the debates. They're just a non-issue.
Whenever I have a conversation online where people are getting sort of heated talking about a political issue, and then, at some point I reveal that I'm a libertarian or whatever, suddenly everything calms down generally because at this point they don't feel a threat. Well, you're not if you're not voting for the Republican or the Democrat, then what do I? Well, I'm not worried anymore.
Oh, you don't even vote then. Right?
They're not worried at all.
Yeah. So in most places, libertarianism is a political sideshow. It's not even on people's radar. They barely even know what it is. I mean, they know more now than in the past because of like Ron Paul, and it's been a little bit more public, but still, the Libertarian Party is not a threat to the status quo.
Yeah.
The Libertarians in New Hampshire absolutely are a threat to the status quo. And whenever you threaten the status quo, the people who support the status quo are going to get very angry about it, and they might even get violent about it. At this point, I'm grateful that no one has burned a cross in my front lawn. That hasn't. No one has been lynched.
They've
Thank
shot
goodness.
paintballs, thrown eggs,
stolen the peace flag,
peed on a car more than one
yeah.
time, tossed ice cream at vehicles.
To be fair, I've peed on some cars, and it wasn't activism. At the time, I thought it might have been.
There's a peace flag that flies out in front of the house. You probably saw it as you came up. That flag, or various iterations of it, have been stolen from the front of this
I like the
studio.
idea of stealing a peace flag. That's
Apparently you're not the only one.
hilarious.
I mean,
but what are you going to do about it if somebody steals your peace flag? Shoot them?
You're like, hey, come on.
Hey, dude, put that down, man.
Please, come on.
This will not stand.
Generally, it's done under the cover of darkness and not witnessed. But there was one time when they came right up and ripped it off while there were people on the front porch. I don't know if they saw them because it was dark, but there were people there. So anyway, my point being that if you put the status quo in jeopardy, then the people who are believers in it are going to react very negatively towards you. And that especially means the people who work for the state, their family members, and their closest friends. The people who benefit from the state as well, so like, a government contractor who's raking in big bucks from all kinds of big government programs, they're not going to like it when libertarians, start winning elections. And that's what's happened here in New Hampshire. Not only are they winning elections as Republicans and Democrats, but also we've done civil disobedience, which brings issues like marijuana legalization or decriminalization to the forefront. So we made international press back in 2009, and since then with the 420 celebrations that went on here in Keene, and there's a lot of people who don't like the idea of marijuana. I mean, not that many of them, but they're out there. There are people who don't like the idea.
I have a good friend that I've known since high school, and he works for a government agency and is so anti-marijuana it makes no sense. And
it's hard to believe
here's
those
my
people
thing
exist.
with him is that he won't admit it's just because it's his livelihood. He gets in helicopters and flies and finds pot.
Oh, he's an eradicator of it. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't, I think, and he won't just say, it's because it's my livelihood.
Yeah, own it, man.
Yeah, and I have no problem with that. That being why you're anti-pot is because it's part of your job to be anti-pot.
Well, I still have a problem with it, but at least they'll be honest.
When you tell me to my face it's more dangerous than alcohol, I have a hard time, it's like I get worried about him when he says that.
There aren't many studies that are going to show you that marijuana is more dangerous than alcohol.
I wonder what percentage of the enforcers actually believe that nonsense. Because I've known people who have been in law enforcement who will be honest with you and say, yeah, I mean, anytime you deal with a drunk guy, it's worse than dealing with a guy who's high because the drunk's more likely to be violent, more likely to be a danger to you as an officer, and the marijuana user's almost never going to do something like that. They know.
They know. Yeah. And it's harder to communicate with a drunk person, too.
Oh, yeah.
So much harder. Yeah, okay.
So opposition's going to exist. It has to exist. And
what are their main, when they come after you guys? What are they saying?
They don't really come after you very much. I mean, mostly it's just a bunch of crap talk online. If you go to their Facebook group, you'll just see post after post after post. It's usually an attack against the person, not against the ideas. So if you were to pull up their Facebook group and look through what they're saying, it's almost always personal insults. That person's stupid.
It's not
that
about
person's
philosophy
ugly.
or practice.
I would love
actions.
to have a debate about philosophy, but they claim to be a coalition of different people sort of brought together, and they don't have any philosophy. Just stop free Keene.
Well, if they do have philosophy, they're not willing to talk about about it. There was a local show that was going to be a debate format. They invited me in to be their first guest, and they invited someone from Stop Free Keene. Nobody came from Stop Free Keene. We're coming up, Free Talk Live.
Are you completely free of stress and fatigue? Well, of course not. You aren't alone, though. Now think about how nice it would be to begin relieving some of that stress and fatigue. Let me introduce you to a product that has and is working for me. It's called Youthful Greens. Youthful Greens. It's packed full of nature's nourishing, cleansing, and alkalizing greens, providing a powerful dose of whole food nutrition in each serving. Youthful Greens helps increase overall energy levels and reduce all that fatigue and stress on your body. And right now, when you visit freegreens.net or call 800-333-6923 and order your 1-month supply of Youthful Greens for only $29.95, you get another month's supply for free. That's 2 months of Youthful Greens for the already low price of just $29.95, plus free shipping. That's saving you $45. Visit freegreens.net today or simply call 800-333-6923. And hey, you're welcome.
By now, you may have heard a bit about Bitcoins, but did you know Bitcoins are now over an $8.5 billion market? And did you know that over 65,000 businesses now accept Bitcoins? Listen, if you're already earning Bitcoins or trying to make money in the Bitcoin market, you've got to know BidBit.co. Why? Because BidBit.co is where you can easily receive Bitcoins by selling and auctioning off your own personal items or promote business products and services for Bitcoins. You heard right. Whether personal or business, you can now buy, sell, and auction your products and services quickly, easily, and securely for Bitcoin at BidBit.co, the first and only marketplace website to offer BidBit Escrow, a proprietary technology which gives buyers and sellers security and peace of mind because all transactions are protected. Start today. It's free to join, free to post, free to auction, and free to bid at BidBit.co. Buy, sell, bid, or auction everything Bitcoin. That's www.bidbit.co. BidBit.co.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. LRN.FM needs your help getting our satellite signal back on in Africa. Our satellite provider had us on at no charge from 2012 through February of this year when they pulled the channel off the air. Now we're trying to raise $22,000 to continue reaching people with the message of liberty in places where it's needed most. Please visit our Indiegogo fundraiser at africa.lrn.fm. Give what you can and share the link with your friends. africa.lrn.fm.
You can interact with other LRN listeners in our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can join us toll-free here. 855-450-FREE is the number. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype at Skype username LRN.FM. And also joining Ian and Mark in the studio, Billy Wayne Davis is with us here. You can Google him for all kinds of social media stuff. Billy Wayne, thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, I like that. You can Google me.
Pocket Power Plus, by the way, is a great way to keep your power-hungry devices going throughout the day. In fact, throughout more than one day if necessary. You can run your electronic devices for hours with the Pocket Power Plus. And it's so powerful that in some circumstances it can actually jumpstart a car. And to prove they're serious about that, you get a full accessory pack with the Pocket Power Plus, that actually has jumper cables with it, as well as a bunch of connectors and things like that. So go and check it out.
They got videos.
Yep, at PocketPowerPlus9.com. You can get the Pocket Power Plus for half price by going to PocketPowerPlus9.com. Now, it's not just your average battery. This is a breakthrough in portable power technology. It really does fit in your pocket or your purse or glove box or briefcase, whatever's convenient for you. You're going to want to have this with you wherever you go because, well, odds are good if you've got a smartphone, you've had it die on you before. This will solve that problem for you and more. So go to PocketPowerPlus9.com and use coupon code FTL to save even more at PocketPowerPlus9.com. Now, we were talking, Billy Wayne, about the opposition movement to Free Keene, which is my website. And did you have a further question about that?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the Free State Project. The Free Keene kind of, could you, I don't know, describe what that is? I'm unfamiliar with that.
Sure. So there's a lot of confusion out there about Free Keene, and really it's just a multi-user blog that reports on activism happening in Keene and outside of Keene. So we focus on all of New Hampshire to some extent, but mostly in Keene. And it comes back around to the discussion we were having previously with why was Keene chosen? Well, it was chosen because of the activists that were here already. I wanted to get the word out about what they were doing. They were already putting videos together, but I wanted to put it on the radio. I wanted to put a blog together. And so right after I moved here in the same year, I launched freekeene.com. And the purpose of Free Keene was to simply catalog the activism that was happening here. Wherever I was going out recording video or whatever, taking pictures of the stuff that was going on, I would write up an article about it. So you can go all the way back to December of 2006 on freekeene.com. And you can see this long history. It's essentially almost like a history blog now at this point of all kinds of amazing, entertaining, shocking, outrageous activism and shocking, outrageous actions by the government, to be more specific. So it's an opinion blog. It's a news blog. So we've actually broken news at freekeene.com of stuff that happens here locally. And so, for instance, like the SWAT team was downtown Keene a couple of weeks ago. They had been called in with one of these swatting things.
Keene has a SWAT team?
They do.
They got a Bearcat, too.
I heard about that today.
There's this thing on the internet called swatting where some prankster will
hack and then make a SWAT team go to somebody's house.
Right. It's not hacking. It's just some prankster calling the police saying, hey, this guy's got hostages at this location. And then the police show up.
And they have to go.
As though there's hostages there. And so that happened in Keene. And we broke that news at freekeene.com and got, video footage that none of the only other media in Keene is the local newspaper and a local talk radio station. So, we're actually at this point one of the major players, if you will, in news in Keene. But that's not the main focus of it. The main focus is to propagate the activism that's going on here, whatever that activism is. So some of it is more offensive than others, right? So smoking pot in public or Topless Tuesday, which happened years ago, but no one's forgotten about that.
That doesn't catch on nationally like I wanted it to either.
Right? Me neither. It didn't catch on at all.
Throwback Thursday, real quick. Everyone was on that. Topless Tuesday, not as much.
Yeah, the guys seem to be all for Topless Tuesday.
Yeah,
it's the women I'm talking about.
The ladies, there were a couple of them on the first Tuesday, and then after that, it pretty much died off.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But stuff like that.
Some people have said, as far as Stop Free Keene goes, some people have been Free Keene. Some people have been insulted by, what does Keene need to be freed from?
Well,
Why would you call it Free Keene?
That's a great. Because when I kept hearing it, and then when we got here today, I was like, well, what are we freeing Keene of? We're in the middle of the woods.
Well, my critique of that, I don't live in Keene, New Hampshire. I moved out for this reason. The taxation in Keene is outrageous.
It's one of the worst in New Hampshire, like top 2.
Right. It would be difficult to use, to properly describe as a superlative, the taxation in this town. And we in the surrounding towns kind of sit and chuckle at the taxation in Keene because they build all these wonderful things. There's a new walking bridge over one of our highways here, and I don't know how many millions it costs.
I wouldn't call it wonderful. That thing's an eyesore.
Yeah, well, you can like or dislike it, but now if I feel like jogging or riding my bike down the across this thing, I don't have to cross the road anymore. Mm-hmm. I can now have the riding bridge that you guys paid for. I didn't have to pay for it. My town, I live 8 miles away, 7 miles away, but I get all the benefits of all these tax-funded things that the people of the city of Keene, put together. They got a little bus that goes around empty all over town, and they got a community center that they've, the YMCA isn't good enough for them. They got to have a community center too, and they've got the professional fire department that shows up probably faster than the volunteers do, and the cops, and the whole deal. Like everything is gold-plated in Keene.
Okay, I don't know if that really answered the question of what Free Keene is all about. But
yeah, but what I'm saying, Keene needs to be freed from the insane taxation that it experiences.
Well, but a lot of people look at Keene and they see this wonderful, idyllic New England town, and it is.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful town.
Downtown's amazing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place to go and shop, and a lot of people from Vermont and Massachusetts come here and shop, and so there's a lot of good things about Keene, and so I think people look at that and they say, well, Keene is free. Well, it's a nice thing to say, but you can go and talk to the guys who are in the jail right now, and they'll probably tell you a different story about that. Keene's just as oppressed as many other places, if not, I wouldn't say it's more oppressed. I think the police in Keene are actually a cut above the average cops around the rest of the country. I'm part of copblock.org, which is a great organization that helps keep police accountable, and I think the police here are generally better.
Oh, it's okay to keep them. It's not like...
Yeah.
To prevent them from getting laid and stuff.
No, they can do that.
They're probably doing just fine.
But there's government everywhere. The state exists all over the place. And so would I like to see a freer Keene? Yeah, absolutely I would. I'd like to see a freer anywhere. I want to see a freer New Hampshire. It's just a name I picked for a website.
And I like it sounds fun too. Free Keene.
Well,
you
right.
Know what I'm talking about?
And why can't we have a free Keene? Maybe, people who want to, maybe the people who want to be enslaved, who want to have a master tell them what to do, they can be their unfree Keene. They can live in that unfree Keene. But I want to live in a free Keene.
No free Keene. That sounds like a religious. Not till you're married.
We've been called the freaks as well. So, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like that.
That is, okay. So it's more like Free Keene is more like a blog, more of a record of what's happening.
Yeah.
And the movement is the Free State movement.
That's correct. And
so
we are encouraging people to move to Keene, though, as well.
Which I think most Keene people should be cool about.
I don't know what most people think. There's a variety of opinions here in town. I mean, there's some people who want us to believe that everyone hates you, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I know that's not true because I know people who are natives here who don't hate me.
Yeah.
Not only that, but we mentioned earlier the peace flag's been stolen about 20 times out in front of the house. I just keep putting new ones out whenever they take it. But there are people who will also come by and honk happily and wave. So it's not all, people flipping the bird.
And the peace thing, too, is in high school, I used to steal flags just because,
it's all
that's
you
what you do in high school.
Yeah. And a lot of them are high school age looking.
We're like,
when
do you
want
to be part of our club? Go get that peace flag.
We think that there is actually a kind of an initiatory thing, maybe for one of the frat houses or something like that.
Well, this is the nicest fraternity house I've ever been.
Thank you. 855-450-FREE. 855-450-3733. We'll continue with Billy Wayne Davis here in moments, and your calls if you want to make them. Free Talk Live.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
A meme is not easy to define.
What is it?
But you know it when you see it.
Amazing.
Don'tTreadOnMeme.com proves that.
I feel so enlightened.
Don't Tread on Meme, M-E-M-E, helping you give the finger to our monetary system of deception by providing you with silver dime trading cards. Unlike today's dollar, they have value, and they look neat too.
Oh, would you look at those? Aren't those just swell?
Don'tTreadOnMeme.com. While you're browsing their numerous silver dime card designs, take time to download the easy-to-use Silver Calculator app. This simple piece of technology lets you know instantly, whether using iPhone or Android, just how much your silver coin is worth. Find out all the details at Don'tTreadOnMeme.com. Now accepting Bitcoin. Don't Tread on Meme, your path to a voluntary society with honest money. Don'tTreadOnMeme.com, serving you faster than the Fed prints money.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999. And ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You may join us here toll free if you would want. 855-450-FREE. We've got comedian Billy Wayne Davis with us here tonight for the remainder of the hour. And we've been yammering on too long on some of these questions you've got. You've got a bunch more questions that you want to get out, so we're going to hit up a lightning round of some sort here in just a moment. But first, I want to bring Michael. He's been waiting patiently in Rhode Island. Michael, you're on Free Talk Live.
I have been waiting patiently. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris Cantwell, how are you doing tonight? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
So I wanted to talk about a few things. Cannabis in particular. You guys have been mentioning it quite a bit on the show.
It's one of my favorite topics.
Me too.
Oh, me as well, guys.
All right. So what about it? Go ahead.
So I don't know the science. Or if there is science, maybe it's pseudoscience. I'm not really sure. I don't know the science behind this stuff. But what I do know is that I was in the Army, unfortunately, and I went to combat also, unfortunately, one of the biggest mistakes of my life. However, when I came back from that, I was all screwed up, injured, other things, right? My neurons weren't firing so hot. And, I went to the VA, and eventually they put me on like 15 different pills, and I was a maniac. I wasn't sleeping for days, yada, yada. Eventually, I did some online research and was speaking to other more experienced people with the herb. And I decided to throw the pills in the trash, dump them into the toilet, and I started to smoke weed instead. And I haven't taken a pill since. I think it's been about 2 years now.
And how are you?
I'm pretty upset with the state, but other than that, I'm functioning pretty good, Ian. I'm doing okay.
It's a miracle drug as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've heard so many amazing stories about cannabis helping people from not just a medicinal aspect, but helping their mental side of things as well. I mean, I'm sure, Billy Wayne, you know a thing or two about this.
Yes, I have a prescription for it. I get headaches.
Nice.
It's going pretty good. But it is, I mean, as a comedian, you perform in front of 300 people. You can't just, at 8, 10 o'clock at night, you can't just, turn that off and go to bed.
Mm.
And I used to drink myself silly to try to fall asleep. And there's terrible side effects to that.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's just, I don't know, I get anxiety about the future because my career is not, there's no guarantee of anything.
Right.
And that takes that, that helps me handle that. I don't have to take Xanax, which makes my head cloudy for 3 days.
Yeah, man, I was taking benzo. I was having to take benzos 3 to 4 times a week, and it was crazy. And I don't do any of that anymore. And the medical stuff aside, it helps me with pain. It helps. I have a bunch of diagnoses, PTSD, and all that nonsensical stuff. And all of that is removed. I do have nightmare issues still. I'm not going to lie about that. But I'm not checking locks. I'm not checking windows. I'm not having panic attacks. My pain issues are significantly taken down.
Incredible.
Can I give you advice for the nightmares? It's something that helps me.
Of course you can. It's talk radio.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm not an expert on this, but this did help me because I didn't necessarily have nightmares. I've always had very vivid dreams that make me feel like I didn't sleep that well. And the yoga I practice, Kundalini yoga, I'll play it. There's different mantras you play while you're sleeping, and it's just that repetition.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It cuts off your subconscious, so it's not as active.
How do you spell Kundalini?
Kundalini.
Michael, thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate it. All right, let's hit these lightning round questions.
Yeah, I'm going to interview the hell out of you guys right here. Okay. Is this a revolution?
Is what a revolution?
Are you guys revolutionaries?
I don't even like the term revolution. Revolution, the other definition of revolution is things are going around again.
360,
and happening. Yeah, right. Like things are happening again. I don't propose to rule over you or anyone else, and that's what revolutions tend to be. Somebody comes in, shoots the old guys, and then, rules over all the people again.
That's a coup, too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's a car with just two doors. And I'd prefer to put together a hatchback if I could. What I want to see is an evolution in the way that sort of human governance goes on. This big leap forward in democracy was essentially you took the state, an autocrat, and you said, you know what, let's get rid of this autocrat, and we'll get everybody together and decide who the autocrat is every 4 years. And then we'll give them a little sort of legislative body. There's really not that much difference between the king, the way he existed in the 1700s, and the president, except that, there's a new one every 4 years.
And the hats are different.
There's some
fancy hats are different.
Hats are different.
Evolution.
Evolution.
I like
that is very interesting. I like that a lot. Is Freeman really your last name?
Oh, before you go that, peaceful evolution as well. I think is really important because when you hear about revolution, you also think about violence, and I don't think violence is the way to achieve what we're looking to do here. We have to change hearts and minds. We have to get to that evolution without using violence. Okay, so is Freeman my real last name? Well, it's real because I chose it for myself. So yes, was it the last name my parents chose for me?
That's a better way to ask.
No, it was not. But I did end up legally changing it, which is a whole other story I'm not going to get into right now. Because,
fair enough, because this is the lightning round.
Tried to put me in jail for that.
Has it caused any problems?
Yes. When I changed it, again, shortening this very lengthy discussion about what the state did, they came after me because I went and I applied for a driver's license under the new name, but I didn't do it in the right order, and they came after me with 2 Class A misdemeanor charges. I'm currently out on a suspended sentence on those charges. I was found guilty.
Yeah,
cool. I'm hanging out with criminals.
I had to go testify in his sentencing hearing to keep him from going to jail.
Next question.
That is fantastic.
And there are a number of Freemans here in New Hampshire as well. It's a fairly popular name amongst the activists.
Yes. Yeah, I bet. Yes, it's like Jane Doe. And Mark, you go by Edge?
Yep.
But that has nothing to do. Does that have nothing to do with the guy from U2?
It has nothing to do with the guy from U2.
Who did it first?
Yeah, I guess this is a tough question to answer because my dad's nickname was Edge too. Anybody who's my real last name is Edgington.
Oh, okay.
And so pretty much anybody who's gonna get familiar with you at some point is gonna want to call you Edge. And so who was first? My dad was. He beat out that guy from U2 by some decades.
Nice, nice. Okay, and we'll get rid of the name questions. Do you think this is a free country?
Well, I think that, like freedom is on a continuum, and the United States is rated in most charts between 20 and 10 on the charts. They're in the top quintile of freest countries. I don't think it is the freest country. I think that it was at one point, that it has slipped down. Taxation, national debt, overarching military operations. Those things have diminished the freedom in the United States.
It's also not moving up on those charts in a good way. It's moving down. It's getting worse over time. Whereas Hong Kong has dominated those charts for
only in
many
financial
years.
freedom. But when you look at, if you were to put together financial freedom and social freedom, I'm going to take New Zealand.
Okay, but no one's ever done that, right? So there is no.
I have right now.
Studies. Well, yeah, but you haven't done the studies, right? So there's the Heritage Foundation, which is like a conservative group, and then there's the Free the World organization, which is, I don't know what their viewpoint is, but they both put out rankings of all the countries in the world as far as mostly economic freedom factors, and the United States, as Mark pointed out, is just not even in the top 10. And that's a sad thing to say. But, you don't even really hear people saying it anymore. You don't really hear people saying, well, it's a free country. I don't ever hear that.
Yeah, that's true. We probably don't hang out with older people anymore either, though. So.
You would think the older people would be more aware of how unfree it is. I mean, they've seen the fall. They've seen it. They've been through it, right? They've been living during a time where there's been more freedom for them.
But they don't cry oppression, though. I think again, it's more of a fear-based thing where they've watched it slowly, and they were part of that process of making more laws.
Well, I guess
young people know nothing different, though. I mean, so it's really
scary.
difficult.
Yeah, that is scary.
Well, right, yeah. You've got young people growing up in government schools where the police come in with drug dogs and they go through everybody's lockers and sniff out their bags. And this is a regular occurrence. This is like normal for them. For us, that's shocking.
Define freedom.
Let's do it when we come back here in a moment. 8:55, 450 free, the final segment with Billy Wayne Davis. We'll continue. And of course, then we'll take your calls in hour number 3 about whatever you'd like to discuss. At 8:55, 450 free, we continue the lightning round here in a little bit. We'll find out where you're going next as well.
Yeah.
It's Free Talk Live.
Hi, Ron Paul here. Today I have an urgent message for every American who's retired or thinking about retiring soon. You see, our own government's disastrous policies have now put you, me, and everyone over the age of 50 at great risk. Sometime in the near future, we're going to have yet another financial crisis. This one won't be solved with bailouts, and it will hit seniors the hardest. I fear there will be civil unrest, a drop in stock prices, pension fund collapses, big changes to Social Security and Medicare, the erosion of personal liberties, bank and brokerage closings, and ultimately a major crisis as the U.S. dollar is rejected for almost any non-paper alternative.
Don't let this happen to your retirement. Dr. Ron Paul strongly believes when the next crisis hits, there will be no warning, and the government won't save you. Go online to www.ronpaulwarning10.com, where you'll learn simple steps you can take to protect your retirement. Go to www.ronpaulwarning10.com.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products, most ready to ship same day. Visit The Berkey Guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of The Berkey Guy.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1. Share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com. This is Mark of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the economic engine that powers our country. With a printing press tethered to Washington bureaucrats and New York central bankers, how can we trust paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold, or go to gold.freetalklive.com. Again, 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Now, more Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Skype us at Skype username lrn.fm. We'll do total open phones here in a little bit. We're going to focus the last segment of this hour here on the lightning round. Questions from Billy Wayne Davis, who is here visiting on a search for freedom. And you found out about the Free State Project and Free Keene and some of the activism that's gone on up here. I'm sure you've just barely scratched the surface. There's a lot that we could talk about. But what other questions did you want to ask tonight?
First of all, everyone I've talked to, I like to get them to give me their personal definition of freedom.
I'll start. I think freedom is your ability to live your life how you want, so long as you don't, bring harm to another human being. Well, unless they've consented to it. But yeah, I think to live life how you want, so long as you're not hurting anybody else. To be unmolested and be allowed to do what you want, that's freedom to me.
Okay. And for you, Edge?
Yeah, it's really similar to that. I would say that, as long as you don't use aggression or fraud against somebody, that essentially, you can live your life how you want. If you're doing what you say you're going to do by the time you say you're going to do it, if you're a person of your word, if you don't, just take things from people or hurt them, then you should be able to do what you want in your own life. That's it.
So, if you want to consent to being hurt, that's fine. So,
that's your choice.
Dominatrix or a boxing ring or something like that. Anything that's consensual.
Postal worker.
What possesses you to constantly toss in dominatrixes when we have this conversation?
I think about Miss Ann. I mean, she's a guest we've had in the past. She's not a dominatrix anymore.
I bet you do think about Miss Ann.
I mean, he's just dying for a good
I've never
paddling.
hired her, and she doesn't do those things anymore. But just coming up with examples.
She'd probably make an exception for you.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Give her enough money, she'll give you a good spanking.
That's probably true.
And you guys seem to be some of the foremost experts on freedom I've talked to.
No, we're just talk show hosts.
But we've done this for 12 years, and we've had to answer questions like this.
But, I mean, you're involved in it daily.
That's true.
So where else should I go look? Because I've been to Pahrump, Nevada. I've been to Austin, Texas. I've been all around this country, really.
There is an organization called the Blue Ridge Liberty Project, which is doing stuff down in near Asheville. You might contact them and take a look around.
Wait, I'm going to Asheville this week. After this, we're going to Asheville to live off the grid.
Well, I'll give you somebody to talk to. Is that the Turtle Island folks there that you're going to see?
I don't know.
Okay.
It might very well be.
Yep.
Asheville doesn't have the same attraction that the Free State Project does. The Free State Project is a much larger movement. There are actually a number of these Move Here projects that Mark has been cataloging on a Facebook page.
Yeah, it's called the Move Here Project, and I've just got a bunch of them, failed ones that didn't work out, and just little ideas people have had, and things where people have actually moved.
Yeah, the guys down in Asheville have a very small group, but it seems to be sticking. So they're still around. There's a lot of these things that have come move here because they don't want to move to New Hampshire where it's cold.
Yeah, that seems to be a detractor for me too.
Well, I think it's a good thing because it keeps the fair weather activists away, right? So the people who can't handle the cold, well, maybe we didn't want them here in the first place, right? What would they have really brought to the table? But I truly believe New Hampshire is the best place for freedom. That's why I'm here. If there was a better place, in my opinion, I would be there.
What's the second best place?
That's a tough question. I don't know.
If you weren't New Hampshire, where would you be?
When we went down to Asheville for the Texas Bitcoin conference,
I was not in Asheville, and
I'm sorry,
Asheville
Austin.
is not in Texas.
I've got it wrong. Excuse me. When we went down to Austin for the Texas Bitcoin conference, I really enjoyed what I saw there, and they have a great deal of activists milling about.
There's a good community, but there's also 1,600 cops in Austin. I'd probably be out in someplace like Wyoming or someplace like that. I think that was my second choice.
Can we move someplace where it doesn't snow?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not in charge of you, Mark. You can move wherever you want to. Or maybe I'd go somewhere outside of the United States. Was the question only in the United States?
Well, that one, but where would you go outside the United States?
I think there's even more choices. I mean, there are a lot of places where you can go and live sort of outside of everything and be left alone for the most part, if that's what you're looking for. I don't think I would want to live that life because I want to... I don't want to just stand by as people are being oppressed, as the police are hurting innocent people. I just don't want to be hiding out during that. So that's why I'm not the kind of person who's going to go running off to the woods.
He's an activist, as he said.
He's active.
So if I were to go to one of those other countries, I would have to live that lifestyle because it wouldn't make sense for the gringo to come in and try to change the system down in Acapulco. And we've got some friends in Acapulco. Seems like there's a good community there too.
I would like to go free Acapulco.
Yeah, Acapulco is supposed to be quite nice. I've been down there, and what they say about it, it's true. I think you can find more freedom with this permanent traveler lifestyle, where basically you have a citizenship in one country, bank accounts in another country, your business in another country, you work in another country, you have your residency in different places, and in this way they basically dodge a whole bunch of different rules, and I think it's an interesting idea. There's another group down in Chile called Fort Galt. They're putting together a little project, and that's kind of interesting. Like I said, New Zealand seems to have a pretty strong libertarian bend to it.
It's a better time for this than it's ever been because of the internet, which allows people of this mindset to find each other and get together. That's the reason we're here in the Free State Project. It wouldn't exist in the way it does if it weren't for the internet.
Well, and that seems to be a common thread with a lot of the groups I've talked to, is that it's really sped up since the internet has become relevant and accessible, I think, is a better word than more relevant.
Yeah, it must have been very difficult to communicate back in the time of newsletters and those sorts of things. There was an interesting...
Before we expound further, though, are there more questions on your list?
No, that was where I should go next, is the last question on my list. Besides...
I think you should go to more places in New Hampshire, personally. I think that's the best place because there's so much going on outside of Keene. There's a lot happening in Manchester and Concord at the State House. There's more happening in New Hampshire than the activists here can do. If you're one person, sometimes there's things happening at the same time. So like in one part of the state, you might be able to go and actually help somebody move into their house. In another part, there might be something happening at the State House. There might be a party in Manchester. This Friday night, there's going to be a cop block happening in Manchester where they're going to... You might actually appreciate this. They'll be blocking a DUI checkpoint. So they're going to go out and give people instructions on how to avoid the checkpoint, things like that. There'll probably be dozens of cop blockers in the streets on Friday night.
There's usually I'm not going to go there. Just a fun play on words.
So so like in the streets activism, we do that, and it's happening all across the state. There's really a lot going on here, more than you can even summarize.
Yeah, in the stuff that's good for video is different than maybe what's going on as far as politics in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is we have. The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance was an organization that was put together by Free Staters and by natives, and they rate each one of the politicians. Every single politician, they rate them on. They tell them how to vote on the laws, and I think that's huge. And what they do is they then give a rating to the politician at the end of the year,
like a report card.
Yeah, a report card, and then they publish that report card. And in the process, what we found is that around a quarter of the politicians in New Hampshire are what we would call nominal libertarians. They're not, like hardline libertarians, but they're nominal libertarians. They fit the criteria, and that very fact makes New Hampshire unique on the planet because there's essentially a libertarian veto here in New Hampshire. You can't get your conservative or your liberal law through without going through these 100 legislators, because there's very few laws that pass with that kind of margin. So you got to go through these 100 legislators.
It's not 100 libertarians. I mean, that's
I said nominal libertarians. That was very clear.
Okay, just to be clear.
Yeah, and so you've got to go through
probably
them.
like 25.
Well, they got a gas tax through this last
but still,
session.
25 libertarians is about 24 more libertarians than are elected anywhere else, right? Like everywhere else, the libertarians lose.
Well, when you say libertarian, what you're saying is somebody
principled people
who would
understand
come out
the ideas.
100 on the Nolan chart. What I'm talking about is people who would come out 80% libertarian.
Yeah.
So, and this is the only state in the union where you have either one of these occurrences. However strict you wish to be with your definition of the term, that's fine. But it makes it, many laws don't pass with a 25 vote margin here in New Hampshire. So you've got something going on here.
Something else
that stops bad laws.
Something else that's going on here that we really didn't even touch on, maybe a little during the break, was getting you hooked up with a Bitcoin wallet. You don't yet have one of these things.
I don't.
And the Bitcoin community up here is huge. I mean, you've not even scratched the surface of this. Yeah, you can buy all kinds of things. You've got a copy of Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree, which we've gifted to you tonight.
Yes,
but
you guys
people
are great.
normally buy that, for $10 worth of Bitcoin. And many Free State Project participants, I don't think it's 100%, but it's probably in the supermajority of them that I've met, accept Bitcoin. So whether they're, whether
they're using it, they have it,
they're buying things with it. When you come to the Porcupine Freedom Festival here this summer, which you should totally come to,
Why do you call it the porcupine?
The porcupine is the mascot for the Free State Project. So unlike you've seen the coiled snake flags before, porcupines are friendly animals unless you actually try to mess with them.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as friendly, but they're at least peaceful animals.
They're pretty friendly from what I've
And they're
seen.
not peaceful to your corn, by the way.
So anyway,
they're not.
check out the Porcupine Freedom Festival. It's like 1,500 liberty-loving people basically partying in the woods of New Hampshire for an entire week. You'd probably really enjoy it.
I would most definitely enjoy that.
Porkfest.com, and check out more of Billy Wayne Davis online. We'll be back with more Free Talk Live in hour number 3 coming up. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. This was fun.
In a trial by jury, the primary function of a juror is not to dispense punishment to the accused. It is to protect your fellow citizens from being unjustly deprived of their life, liberty, or property. As a juror, you can say no to unjust laws and prevent government abuses of power by refusing to convict. Legislative, executive, judicial. The fourth branch of government is we the people. Find out more from the Fully Informed Jury Association at fija.org.
The results are in. For the treatment of nasal allergy symptoms, nothing is more effective than Nasacort. Nasacort Allergy 24-Hour is prescription-strength medicine that's scent and alcohol-free with no harsh taste. It's non-addictive and provides 24-hour relief of the worst nasal allergy symptoms, including congestion, with no prescription needed. And in a recent clinical study with Nasacort going nose-to-nose with Flonase, more people prefer Nasacort. For more information, visit nasacort.com. Nasacort. Use as directed.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, April 23rd, 2015. Silver is trading at $15.89 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,190 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $236. Antiwar.com reports on Tuesday afternoon, facing growing criticism for massive civilian death tolls, Saudi Arabia announced the end to its airstrikes against Yemen, claiming they had accomplished their military objectives. By Wednesday morning, Saudi warplanes were once again pounding targets at several sites in Yemen, leaving many to wonder what the point was of Tuesday's mission accomplished moment. The Saudis seemed keen to rebrand Operation Decisive Storm amid the growing death toll, but it's hard to imagine anyone else will see the new operation as anything but the old operation under a different name. Yemen's Houthis, the primary target of Saudi strikes, continue to urge a cessation of hostilities and negotiations under UN auspices. The Saudis have publicly insisted that the only end they'll expect to the war is the reinstallation of former President Hadi, who resigned in January and is now living in exile in Riyadh, awaiting a second shot at being a ruler with no electoral mandate, but with substantial international military backing. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell from Kentucky introduced a bill on Tuesday to extend the controversial USA Patriot Act and its surveillance provisions until 2020. The extension would allow the NSA to continue to collect data on millions of U.S. phone records daily. The NSA does so under the authority of Section 215, which allows for secret court orders to collect tangible things that could be used by the government in investigations. Section 215 expires on June 1st. The NSA's mass collection program was revealed by former contractor Edward Snowden, which sparked a debate about privacy, security, and the reach of government surveillance. Senator Patrick Leahy from Vermont said in a statement, despite overwhelming consensus that the bulk collection of Americans' phone records under Section 215 of the USA Patriot Act must end, Senate Republican leaders are proposing to extend that authority without change. This tone-deaf attempt to pave the way for 5.5 more years of unchecked surveillance will not succeed. I will oppose any reauthorization of Section 215 that does not contain meaningful reforms. Leahy and a bipartisan group of lawmakers on the House Judiciary Committee are attempting to end the NSA's mass collection of records. Harley Geiger, policy counsel at the Center for Democracy and Technology, said, the Senate Majority Leader's bill makes no attempt to protect Americans' privacy or reform ongoing NSA surveillance programs that do not provide any tangible benefit to national security. For Americans concerned about government intrusion in their lives, the bill is a kick in the stomach. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports police in Utah said on Wednesday they had arrested a 25-year-old man on suspicion of arson after he told police officers he lit a brush fire that burned dozens of acres to signal for help after his car got stuck. The Grand County Sheriff's Office said its deputies, local firefighters, and Bureau of Land Management workers responded to a report of Monday's blaze, which destroyed up to 40 acres of old-growth cottonwood trees and other vegetation and threatened several structures. In a statement, the Sheriff's Office said a vehicle had become stuck near where the fire started when the driver had tried to turn around on the hillside. The driver, Weston Frank Viteri of Green River, Utah, told law enforcers that he had started a fire as a signal for help. One firefighter sustained burns when he stepped into a hole created by a burned-out stump and was transported to Moab Regional Hospital. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Seniors thunder into a local high school parking lot like coalition forces entering Baghdad. A substitute teacher just needs to make it to her car before breaking down in tears. And a college freshman tells his roommate there's no need to hide his masturbation from him. And now a week in review that truly requires no introduction. The nation's students announced this week that they have reluctantly agreed to give the American education system yet another chance, saying they hope educators keep their promises of smaller class size, better school supplies, and intensified efforts to raise the country's international math ranking. The nation's students vowed to give the education system one more shot, despite claiming to have been burned many, many times in the past. In other news, a man overcomes alcoholism without the help of Jesus, and an outcast student and a lonely teacher have begun a somewhat endearing sexual relationship. And that was a free lesson in top-shelf journalism. For more news, videos, and reminders of your insignificance, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
We are back with more Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here. Bring up anything that happens to be on your mind. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us online. Just drop on by freetalklive.com and enjoy the features there waiting for you. With you tonight, you've got Ian.
And Mark.
So, Mark, you've got a story. I don't know if you've got it pulled up, but it's the Game of Thrones story. There's a bar somewhere that has been throwing Game of Thrones viewing parties, and apparently HBO doesn't like that very much. They have decided to crack down, no doubt using copyright. And I want to hear more about that particular story. All I know about Game of Thrones is I've seen 2 episodes because everybody talks about this show.
I haven't seen any.
Right? Everybody talks about this show. And it was good. Yeah. I thought it was a fine drama, fine HBO kind of series drama.
I hear it's epic.
I wouldn't say it was the greatest show I've ever seen or anything like that, but it was entertaining. I will likely come back to it at some point in the future.
There are so many good shows available on Amazon Prime that I haven't been rushing off to find things that I have to pay for.
Do they put HBO on Amazon Prime?
I don't know whether I could even find it. I doubt it. Frankly, have not looked.
I highly doubt it. I would imagine they want a little more control over their product. But anyway, let's jump into this here, Mark. What's going on and where is it happening?
I believe it's New York City.
Okay.
This is from nypost.com. HBO brandished its Valerian legal swords. I assume that's a Game of Thrones joke. Against a Brooklyn bar, forcing it to end the Sunday night Game of Thrones viewing parties it had been hosting for 2 years. As a pay subscription service, HBO should not be made available in public establishments, HBO said after sending a April 15th cease and desist letter to Videology Bar and Cinema in Williamsburg. James Leet, co-owner of the Bedford Avenue Bar, said the letter was as jarring as this season 3's Red Wedding. We feel really bad that we're not allowed to show it. We don't have a choice, Leet said. By Sunday afternoon, Videology posted a message on to Facebook reading, "Sorry guys, no Game of Thrones showing tonight or ever. Not our choice. Hashtag winter is here." Once again, I assume that
another Game of Thrones
another reference. So they've switched it over to Mad Men, and it's this is people. They tell us that intellectual property is intended to benefit society as a whole, right?
Is that what they say?
Yeah, obviously that's what it's for.
Oh, the idea being that without intellectual property, people wouldn't make medicines or something like that?
Well, yeah, that's what you're told is sort of, generally, well, how are we possibly going to get the good TV shows if the good TV shows are played in bars that can pay, people can pay money to sit and drink? Like, none of it really makes any sense. I want to know how this makes society better as a whole. People who support intellectual property at least have arguments for intellectual property as a concept. They rarely do they support it in its implementation.
Yeah, that's a good point, because in its implementation, it's really all about bringing as much revenue as possible to the people who hold the intellectual property so-called rights. And in this case, and it's to some extent cutting their nose off to spite their face, because this is not good PR for Game of Thrones or for HBO.
I'm annoyed.
Right. I mean, it will probably I don't know if it'll upset the fans enough to make them stop watching, because it's apparently an incredibly addictive program, and I'm sure they'll continue it to be a very, very popular show.
The harder it is for people to watch your program, the less likely they're going to watch it. And that's
true.
Just that's the way economics works.
And they're also, I mean, obviously there's a lot of word of mouth about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's great. I hear.
But, it's not a bad thing to have that show playing in a bar where somebody could saunter on in and asks, hey, what's that? They're sitting there drinking and they're watching and they're wondering what they're seeing. They've never heard, maybe, and not everybody's heard of Game of Thrones, right? So somebody's going to come into that bar and they're going to get turned on to it because it was playing there.
Well, it also shows how HBO's really sort of fallen. This is a whole new area that they can start marketing. I hear some sports, things called, they call them Major League Sports. They do things like this in bars. People are so excited about this television programming that people will go in and drink beer and eat chicken wings and root for these things they call teams. What they are actually, Ian, what these teams are is they're a bunch of millionaires dressed similarly, and they do things with balls and stuff. And HBO's missing out on this incredible opportunity. Instead, they want to have their lawyers send somebody a cease and desist.
Yeah, didn't I hear also that, it's sort of related, that Game of Thrones is like the #1 most pirated show of all time?
I don't know.
I've heard that that's the case. I don't know if it's true, but I believe that it could be true. And either way, there's an argument to say that piracy isn't a bad thing either for them, because those pirates are talking to people, right? The people that are copying Game of Thrones and sharing it on torrent, for instance, those folks are talking about the show. They're going to work, they're going to school, they're going wherever it is they go, to whichever social clubs, and they're discussing, because that's what people talk about, right? Like, people talk about sports, they talk about television, they talk about the weather. I mean, these are things that people have in common. Yeah. I know there's reason to critique that, but that's what people talk about.
They call it small talk for a reason.
So people talk about Game of Thrones. And when the more people talk about it, whether they've watched it through HBO's legal channel or not, it's still buzz. And more buzz means more people wanting to see it.
Right.
And more
I want to see this. At some point, I'm liable to pay money to watch the first season of Game of Thrones just to see it.
And I believe HBO now has a way to do that on their website, if I'm not mistaken. I know that Showtime does. I'm pretty sure HBO does as well. Because
I better not invite anybody over, though, when I do it. I better just watch this myself with headphones on so that nobody else can possibly enjoy it.
Well, all these movies have that FBI warning in front of it, where it says, you will be imprisoned if you share this with anyone.
I need a good threatening every time I watch your product. Thank you so much for that FBI warning. I especially like it when they put it in French just to make sure I've got it.
Man, I remember years ago, my dad showed me how to copy movies back when they were on VHS. So it was just like one of those moments.
One of the dual
father-son moments.
Dual recorder things?
Yeah, I forget how many heads you need. I think it was like a 4-head VHS deck or
VHS
something
was
like
4-head.
that. There was some sort of technique. Because they had these copywritten tapes or whatever.
Yeah, back in the day they didn't. When I was, doing
way
these things.
back,
way back in the days.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is sad. I mean, because the bar patrons are going to miss out. It's going to mean HBO's getting all this negative publicity. There's really no upside to this. I mean, I don't think HBO's benefiting from
the
doing
upside
this
is for Mad Men. Mad Men was what the patrons were shown in. Instead, sending a bar a cease and desist letter is like saying I can't have my friends to my house to watch Game of Thrones because they haven't paid for it. It's just wrong, said Ian Phillips, 27. What about the people?
A bar patron?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the people e-pirating the show online? HBO explained.
Well, they can't pick on them as easily. I mean, this bar is advertising publicly that they're doing this. The average pirate who's downloading online is not publicly advertising the fact
Not just
that they're doing
that, but HBO says it monitors bars and eateries to find out who's having viewing parties and relies on tips. Like they've got
That's pathetic.
The network of snitches out there or something like that to catch filchers. I'm not sure what a filcher is.
Is that the name they use? A filcher?
That is a term. I have heard it before.
It sounds like a sex term.
No, I'm not sure that that's a sex term.
I'm going to look that one up.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of a felcher. This is
okay.
nothing new, as we have taken such actions for well over a decade, the cable giant said. In the early 2000s.
This is the way it's always been, and this is the way it always will be, because we say so.
Yeah, well, the fact is people want to share the things that are important to them. And you've really got to ask yourself, where do you want to get involved with that? Don't you want people to get together in a large room and drink alcohol and enjoy your show? Well, if not, if this doesn't work for you, instead of sending your lawyers out, you should just tell this bar, look, here's your licensing agreement or whatever. Figure out some way for them to do it. Don't tell them they can't. Show them how they can. And this is just bad management. This is shark jumping at its best. This is how an organization goes from new, exciting, content-driven media to old, staid, mainline bullcrap.
Yeah, but even if there was even if they came up with some licensing option to allow the bar to show this program, it would likely be priced out of their range. I mean, that's just how these guys are. Like they'll charge $1,000 or something ridiculous, something that the bar couldn't possibly make back.
What's NFL doing? I mean, it's not like there's not a business model out there. There's currently drinking establishments that play TV to get people to come in. This isn't hard.
All right, we'll come back with more here. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can share your thoughts on intellectual property. It's Free Talk Live.
Hi, Ron Paul here. Today I have an urgent message for every American who's retired or thinking about retiring soon. You see, our own government's disastrous policies have now put you, me, and everyone over the age of 50 at great risk. Sometime in the near future, we're going to have yet another financial crisis. This one won't be solved with bailouts, and it will hit seniors the hardest. I fear there will be civil unrest, a drop in stock prices, pension fund collapses, big changes to Social Security and Medicare, the erosion of personal liberties, bank and brokerage closings, and ultimately a major crisis as the U.S. dollar is rejected for almost any non-paper alternative.
Don't let this happen to your retirement. Dr. Ron Paul strongly believes when the next crisis hits, there will be no warning, and the government won't save you. Go online to www.ronpaulwarning10.com, where you'll learn simple steps you can take to protect your retirement. Go to www.ronpaulwarning10.com.
Hi, this is Mark Edge, host of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the very economic engine that powers this country. With a printing press tethered to Washington politicians, bureaucrats, and central bankers, how can we put our trust in paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Come see gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold. With Washington, D.C. delivering more debt and printed promises, common sense tells us the future of the trend is obvious. Everyone listening should visit gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938. I trust Midas Resources for my gold, silver, platinum, and you can too. Again, I want you to have this book, and it's free. It's gold.freetalklive.com or 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
Never, ever send a follow-up email asking, "Did you get my email?" Email 101. If it didn't bounce back undeliverable, it got where you sent it. And avoid transmedia pestering, like calling to ask, "Did you get my email?" or emailing to say, "I left you a voicemail." If your emails and voicemails aren't being acknowledged, your problem isn't technology, it's technique. Is your message concise and understandable? Have you boiled it down to seem as relevant as possible to the recipient? In other words, Is it the opposite of spam or junk mail? All of this really matters if you're a job seeker. But even if you're not, with money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
If there was a place that liberty-minded people had been elected to political positions and were rolling back government, would you move there? If freedom lovers had secured a 20% voting bloc and can veto most bad bills, would you move? Well, the time has come to sign the pledge at freestateproject.org. These things have happened in New Hampshire, and you can join us and help. freestateproject.org. Sign up now at freestateproject.org.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. We'll take your calls about whatever you want to discuss. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Join us online. Drop by freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features waiting for you there. One of the things we really like here on Free Talk Live is alternative currencies. We hooked up our earlier guest, Billy Wayne Davis, with his first Bitcoin wallet. I sent him $5 worth of Bitcoin. He was pretty excited about it, actually. And we're also into gold and silver, the old school alternative currencies, the ones that have been around for longer than we've been around. They are, for a long time, they've been great hedges against inflation. But whatever your reason for wanting gold and silver, whether it's an investment, a barter currency, or that hedge against inflation that it's been so good at historically, you can go and get it from Midas Resources through Free Talk Live. And if you do so, we will get a very, very small cut of the sale because there's not a large margin on selling gold and silver. So you can go to silver.freetalklive.com or call Midas toll-free at 877-857-9938. That's 877-857-9938. They've got beautiful gold and silver pieces over at silver.freetalklive.com. You can also go to gold.freetalklive.com. It'll take you to the same place. And I've purchased from Midas multiple times, and they're always great. They really are. So once again, silver.freetalklive.com. Mark, we've been talking about intellectual property, as it is called, and the Game of Thrones, this incredibly popular television program based on HBO, was being shown by a bar in New York, was it? Is that right?
Yeah, it was in Brooklyn.
And this sounds like a kind of an art geek bar. The name of the bar sounds like they're really oriented towards showing movies and things like that.
Yeah.
And there's for a long time been a prohibition against showing a movie for money. So if you rent a movie or you buy a movie at the store, you still don't have the license legally to display that for cash.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I don't know whether it's illegal or not, but generally you can get away with showing it to your friends for free. But if you start displaying it publicly for free, that will likely get you in trouble.
And sometimes there's these little slipshod things. I mean, what about a movie? What about classes at school? I mean, have you ever seen a movie at school?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, what's the rule on displaying it to a school?
I bet the government exempts themselves from that.
I don't know what they do.
I bet they do.
It's always very interesting when you're talking about. I remember seeing a Pirates game on film, probably 8mm film.
Oh wow!
Went back in the early '80s in the Fellowship Hall of my Methodist church.
That could have been illegal.
It could have been.
Yeah.
I don't have any clue. It's not like I signed some kind of waiver or anything like that that I recall.
Well, as long as nobody snitches, you can get away with it. But apparently HBO says they've got snitches who are working to rat out bars Now, we know that ASCAP and BMI, the music organizations, have been doing this for years. So it's kind of a different twist on an old story. For years, there have been these agents of the music industry who've gone into music establishments where they'll let bands play or they'll have overhead speakers, and they will go after those bars and threaten them with lawsuits if they don't pony up cash or stop doing what they're doing. And sometimes doing what they're doing can simply be playing music over the overhead speakers that they have not paid the licensing fees for. Because apparently there's like a bar fee that you can pay to BMI or ASCAP,
ASCAP and BMI,
to get permission to just allow music to be played on your establishment. Now, I don't know if, like, when I'm in the dentist office, I hear music being played over the speakers there. Is there also a ASCAP BMI license for that too?
Sure is.
I mean, it's
Any
ridiculous. The company that I had gone to for dental work in the past, they were listening to Sirius XM radio. So Sirius XM's already paying a musical license to air those songs. Are you telling me that the dentist office also has to pay on top of that to re-air them?
I can't say that, but I can tell you that if it was a CD, they certainly would have to do that.
It's just so outrageous.
But a radio station, they can. So you can play the radio, which pays a higher ASCAP BMI fee than anybody else, and you can
replaying radios. Okay, so then probably
you're not replaying it; you're playing it.
Well, right, but then probably playing Sirius XM would probably fall under that same category. Would be my guess.
I don't know the answer to that. I am not going.
I don't either. I'm not an attorney,
and frankly, the attorneys that make their living in this field must have a difficult time sleeping. It's just difficult. It says here,
not when their pillows are stuffed with money. Apparently,
yeah, I would sleep better on a pillow stuffed with money. I can admit that. In the early 2000s, the network ordered up its hits on the several Chicago gin mills showing The Sopranos. Videology shot to the top of HBO's list because it screens the show in a theater connected to the bar, said a source.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
What a cool way to go and watch your favorite television show.
What a cool way to have your television show shown to a bunch of people.
Right. If HBO were hip and with it, and I'm sure they would like people to think that because they've got cool shows, right?
Yeah.
If they were actually with it, then they would be encouraging this. If they were with it, they would have found out about this and sent them a gift package or something like that, or
I don't know what
sent one of the stars down there to sign autographs.
At the very least, they would have figured out some licensing agreement for these people. Hey, we heard about you playing, and we have look. That's you can't just go playing our show for a bunch of people. This is our licensing agreement. Send us a check for this, and it's not a problem. And that is a really great way to solve the problem. I understand we have to deal with the world as it exists as far as intellectual property goes. I'm willing to have conversations. I think that one thing that's for sure is that all kinds of intellectual property is being used in the Game of Thrones show that nobody's paying for. Isn't a throne a technology? It is a sitting technology, right? A sword is a killing technology.
Yeah,
all
someone
of these
invented
things,
that sword.
Someone invented it, and likely the vast majority of us are related to that person. And how come we're not all getting some tiny little check every time a sword appears in Game of Thrones?
Because that's
absurd. Because it is stupid. Yeah. Right? And so at some point or another, you kind of have to ask yourself, would it be okay if this bar showed stuff where the copyright and the patent have run out? Of course it would be just fine if they showed this stuff. So it's all arbitrary, completely arbitrary how long they get. There's the new 99 years, the artist's lifetime in 99 years on songs that they put together, I don't know, a couple decades ago. Sonny Bono, but I mean, the national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, is a ripoff of an English drinking song. So it just goes to show how we use things. Humans use old stuff to make new things. Art is piled on top of art. I mean, you got to kind of let it go at some point. And those are the questions I have: is when is the right time? Why do we give politicians, people that whose names are synonymous with liars and thieves, the ability to make the decision as to when is fine for us to use things in public domain?
So I think it's relevant to point out that on the backside of the Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree DVD, we included a different message, because the default message that the DVD manufacturer puts on there is that FBI threat. Ours says, "Thank you," instead of "warning" in all caps. for buying a copy of this movie. Feel free to screen it for your friends and family, or even copy it for them. We're confident that if they enjoy it, they're likely to buy a copy for themselves or a loved one, so as to inspire future productions like this. I think that's pretty with it. I think that's pretty hip. In fact, even on the Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree website, which is victimlesscrimespree.com, there are instructions on how to host a screening. So we want you to share this movie. Anyway, 855-450-FREE. Maybe you've got thoughts on intellectual property or whatever's on your mind. It's Free Talk Live.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
Free Talk Live.
But we have the opportunity. No one has the opportunity.
Look, just hold on. Just because the slaves can pick the head slave doesn't mean that the slaves are free.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Look, if people actually got up and voted for things, there might actually be some change.
People do actually get up and vote for things, and change always results in the same crap.
What are you going to do that's different by voting?
2 choices between crap sandwiches, man.
You're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. On the one hand, you're saying, oh, hardly anybody votes, so you can barely say this is a person of right. And then I say, well, gosh, if people get up and vote, maybe things will change.
Hold on, that was only one thing he brought up.
Here's what I mean.
When people do vote, it doesn't make any difference because of a number of reasons.
People never vote in numbers that could actually reflect what
Why should I vote for any of these thugs? They're killers. They're murderers.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern. Live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Ovaltine. Give your kids the nutrition they need to be their best. Visit us at ovaltineusa.com. Telling your child about healthy food choices is important, but showing her what to eat goes a lot further. Have her help create the grocery list, then bring her to the store with you. Picking out healthy foods together helps kids get in the habit of thinking about what they're eating every day. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
We're back with more Free Talk Live. Plenty of time for you to dial toll-free and bring up anything you want at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This discussion of intellectual property brought to you by Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. You go to victimlesscrimespree.com and you can watch it for free and then share it with all your friends. And if you feel so inclined, you can buy the DVD for less than $10 at Amazon and even Walmart. So once again, victimlesscrimespree.com. Check that out. You can also bring up anything you want. We can talk more about intellectual property and how ridiculous of a concept that it is here in a moment. But Dax is with us first, listening in Dallas, Texas. Hello, Dax. Dax in Dallas. Hello.
Sorry.
There you are. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, I just wanted to give a shout out about the Free State.
You're on the air.
We're about to be moving in August, so.
Wow, that's exciting.
Pretty
Who's
excited.
we? You and who else?
My wife.
Excellent.
So about 2 months ago, we made the decision, and it's worked out great.
What has led you to this decision?
Liberty in general, which I've been talking about tonight. Why is New Hampshire over Texas? For me, it would be the Tea Party, really religious people. They seem to get along with a lot of ideas, but, they cross the line with some things. So
what you're saying is you're frustrated by the ultra-conservative right-wingers there in Texas.
Yeah, well, the Tea Party, I mean, it's still strong here in Texas, and it is ultra, not conservative, just religious conservative. And there's some boundary you can't break. With like the marijuana, it's very difficult. Talk about gay marriage. I mean, good luck. So these things, it'd be nice to be in a different culture.
Yeah, things are different here. I mean, I'm not going to tell you won't find ultra-religious types in New Hampshire. They certainly exist. Although, from what I understand, New Hampshire is one of the most unchurched places in the United States, which means that there are churches here, but there's not as many percentage of population that attend them. So that might be a good thing for you there.
Yeah, that's more room in the pews for those that do, right?
So that's a big motivator for you. But a lot of people say that Texas is really free. I mean, Texas should be a destination for a freedom movement. What do you think about that?
It is. We have a good movement. We were real active during 2012, and we're still friends with a lot of the movement and the cop blocks down here and Corey and everybody. But our people are great. The Liberty movement down here is great, but I think we just want to see that change and have, like you said earlier, about having so many things to do, you can't do it all.
It's not that way in Texas.
Not in Dallas. I think Houston's a little bit stronger from what I hear, but I also know Houston's really liberal, so I was surprised to hear that. But I know Tom Woods and people go down there quite a bit, so.
Yeah, I would say that I've enjoyed my trips to Texas, but I can't really say that it's a place where you would have a real chance at a growing freedom movement because there's just so many people there. Was it 26 million, I think, or something last time I looked? I mean, there's an insane amount of...
Dallas alone is almost the exact same as New Hampshire total.
Yeah.
1.3.
Yeah,
so
Texas is by rights its own country, and not a small one. I mean, I don't know how it would rank against other countries population-wise, but it is a big place, and therefore its government is well entrenched, and people are essentially poorly represented, comparative to places like New Hampshire or Vermont.
Well, congratulations.
Running the campaign, it costs at least $1 million to win just a House seat.
It costs on average, I think, $500 in New Hampshire to win a state House seat.
Yeah, I know.
And that $1 million is chump change compared to what you get out of it.
Yeah, no doubt. Dax, congratulations on your decision. You said you're moving this August, is that right?
Yeah, this late August.
Very exciting.
The Manchester area, so.
That's always a good starting point, and then you can kind of feel out the rest of the state, see if you can find something that's a little more to your liking. Thank you, Dax, for your call tonight. Look forward to seeing you in New Hampshire. Let's go to James in Arizona. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, James.
It's the Edge in you two, just so you geeks know. But anyway, Mark, you can call me lunatic anytime you want, Minister. By the way, I heard you lamenting about Stop Free Keene only having only ad hominem attacks on their webpage. about you guys?
I'm listening.
You ever read any of the posts that you put on After Hours about me on your Facebook page, Mark? Because it's nothing but attacks. There's never been one substantive, speaking of intellectual property, nothing intelligent ever. But you posted them about me, Minister.
Are you talking about
I swear to God. I swear to God.
You asked a question.
I'm talking about the both of you. You've posted.
Hold on a second. I'm just going to put you on hold so you can answer his question.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about. I have, a few Facebook pages, but the one that I have that's regarding James is quotes. I mean, I actually don't say anything about him.
You don't preface the quote with this is James in Arizona.
Yeah, I might say something underneath if somebody comments and say something like that.
You don't preface the quote with an insult?
No, I don't say anything about it. I put quotation marks around the stuff he has written in, and I just put it up to show people the obsessiveness with which he talks about our deaths.
This is the I don't know. Does he talk about my death? I think he's normally talking about you, right?
Well, he certainly has mentioned mine.
Talk about radio, you take control when James from Arizona calls in. But anyway, Mark, you're the one that posted things that are nasty images and caricatures of me before I ever started making fun of you. But about that lunatic and killing and all that, I should not like to explain to the benefit of your audience. Last night you were sitting right next to a creep who was a co-host, frequent co-host of your show and frequent caller, that couldn't wait to call in on one Monday to talk about how glad he was that two cops were had their heads blown off while sitting in a squad car, and he suggested he should like to see more of that happen to any guys with badges on. Now, that's not an exact quote, but I know that two ministers and another little person that lives in that dope den you're broadcasting with, not one of you three had anything condemnatory to say about a guy fantasizing about other people's cold-blooded murder.
Well, actually, you're wrong about that. Thank you for the call tonight. You're actually wrong about that. I don't support violence, and I think we've had that conversation, countless times here on Free Talk Live about why violence isn't the solution. I don't.
If I failed to speak out, I don't even know what he's talking about particularly. But if I failed to speak out on that, then thank you, James, for letting us know. We don't think that that's a good solution to the problem.
Right.
But I don't remember what he's talking about.
Maybe he's referring to a comment like I might have said something like I didn't shed a tear over it or something like that. But that doesn't mean
people die every day. How can you shed a tear over everybody that dies?
Yeah,
right?
That doesn't mean that I endorse violence as a solution.
I think that's a poor idea to say that. But I guess if somebody's caught, and I don't know, I don't know the circumstance he's talking about, but if somebody's caught doing something illegal and dies in the process, or immoral and dies in the process, then I guess I don't shed a tear.
So yeah, violence not the solution. Certainly something we've covered a myriad of times. In fact, Chris Cantwell and I even had a lengthy discussion about that at the first Keene-vention. It was Chris, Derek, Jay, and myself. This was actually before Chris was a co-host of Free Talk Live. It was actually before he even moved back to New Hampshire, I think. But anyway, Chris came up to Keene-vention, and we put him on the peace roundtable, as we called it. And it ended up being the most well-attended of all of the Keene-vention panels. And I think it did fairly well online as far as views were concerned as well. People want to talk about this issue. People are frustrated with the police. And I actually have a police-related story here tonight. I'm glad James called in. He gave me an excuse to bring this up. I had wanted to, but we were talking about intellectual property. Certainly we could come back to that.
I'd like to just put out there for James, if he's still listening, hey, I will take that Facebook page down if you act like a normal, non-nutty person for 3 months. I know you don't like that Facebook page, and I get it. I'll take it down if you just go ahead and stop acting insane and typing all kinds of weird screeds at us, because I don't know. If you're not a lunatic killer, you just happen to act like one.
We'll come back with more here in moments. Speaking of lunatic killers, the police are in the news again. And this time it is a man with a gun, an AR-15, charging at a woman who is just trying to hold them accountable by recording them with her cell phone.
I saw that video, yeah.
Yeah, I just watched it for the first time a moment ago, and there's news. We'll share it with you here in moments. 855-450-FREE is the number. Free Talk Live.
When we needed $5,000 for a medical emergency, a friend told us about Avant. They use their own risk evaluation software to calculate a personalized interest rate, one that works for us. The whole process took minutes and didn't affect our credit score.
We've helped over 100,000 Americans get the money they need fast. And with Avant, you'll never pay hidden fees or be penalized for paying off your loan early. Right now, Avant will also give you a $50 Amazon.com gift card after your first installment is made on time. To check your rates risk-free and get this special offer, go to AvantOffer.com today and enter promo code 200 at checkout. That's www.avantoffer.com, promo code 200. Again, that's www.avantoffer.com, promo code 200.
Loans are made by WebBank and by affiliates of Avant Incorporated. California loans offered by Avant will be made under Financial Lenders License number 603K124. Amazon is not a sponsor of this promotion. Other restrictions apply. See website for details.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products, most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
This is a national health care alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. So if you're on Medicare and have knee pain, don't wait. You may qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost. Friendly agents are standing by 24/7 to help you. We also have other pain-relieving braces too for your shoulder, ankle, or back. You may be eligible to get these items and more at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Our friendly representatives are standing by now to help you, so please call now. 800-301-2963, 800-301-2963, 800-301-2963, 800-301-2963.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Join us here in the remaining moments of the program. If you like, you can do so at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And, of course, you can join us online anytime you like over at freetalklive.com. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
Like the show? You want to help support Free Talk Live? Then please become an amplifier at amp.freetalklive.com. You can do it for $5 a month, and you get perks like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, the AMP-only forum, AMP-only Facebook group, and more. Go and get the details and get signed up over at amp.freetalklive.com. Also, while you're feeling in the giving mood, you can also give to the Free Talk Live /LRN.FM African Satellite Fundraiser for as little as $1. Whatever it is you feel like donating. You can donate $1,000 or $10,000 if you've got that kicking around. We'll put it to good use, and we'll get the ideas of liberty broadcast all across a good swath of Africa. Not the entire continent, but a good chunk of it. So go and check out the signal map and the pitch over at africa.lrn.fm. That's africa.lrn.fm. Southgate, California, as reported on over at thefreethoughtproject.com, a shocking and disturbing video uploaded to YouTube on Sunday caught an armed police officer charging at a witness, snatching her camera, then smashing it on the ground before then kicking it as hard as he could to destroy it. The witness, who was quietly filming the confrontation from across the street, gasped in horror as she thankfully captured the scene. The incident occurred in Southgate, a city in Los Angeles County. The officers appear to be in SWAT gear as you hear the woman asserting her right to be there. It is unclear what she was filming that the officers so badly wanted to hide. Quote, "I have a right to be here. You need to stay away from him," the woman is heard asserting calmly, a mere 15 seconds before an officer armed with an assault rifle begins to walk towards her. As the woman non-aggressively begins to distance herself from the officer, he then runs full speed at her, grabbing her phone and yanking it from her hands. The woman who was filming the scene is a different woman, the woman who was filming from afar.
So there's a gal who's filming the scene, and then there's another woman who's filming her from across the street and safely inside the house. The cops don't see her.
I don't know if she's inside a house, but
yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
Well, I don't see if she's inside a house and she's either standing in the doorway or there's no screen on the window because there's no.
It seemed to be framed, as I recall, by a house. Maybe I'm just wrong.
I think you might be wrong about that, but nonetheless. So the woman who is filming the scene from across the street is heard gasping in horror as the officer smashes the phone to the ground, then kicks it as hard as he could to get it away from the scene. It sounds as if one of his buddies is cheering as the attack takes place. The officer then calmly walks away as though it were business as usual, and he had not just assaulted a woman, which, by the way, if you and I were to perform the same act to someone on the street holding a cell phone, we would probably be charged with felony-level assault.
Indeed.
Or something like that.
There's a different set of rules.
Now, the Free Thought Project editorializes a bit here, as they tend to do, which I'm fine with because they do a good job. But they say the police are scared. They know that they're being held accountable by the public and by good citizens who look out for one another and film police encounters. This is why it's imperative that we continue to film the police. If you can see someone else filming, find another vantage point and film with them. You can never have too many cameras.
Hear, hear.
The bad can continue to be bad if the good stand by and do nothing. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And then they actually suggest contacting the U.S. Marshals for some reason to demand the officer be held accountable. Was it the Marshals or a SWAT team in L.A. County? I'm not really sure who the officers were involved here.
Yeah, I didn't think it was U.S. Marshals. I thought that it was a city in California.
It's certainly happening in Southgate.
Yeah, Southgate.
I don't have those details. But there's other news about this. The folks over at photographyisnotacrime.com, which is a great website, by the way, one of my favorites. They are reporting on the story. Carlos Miller, actually, saying that NBC Los Angeles has taken on an extremely cop-sucking approach to the case of Beatrice Paez, the 34-year-old woman who had her phone snatched from her by a U.S. Marshal on Sunday. The news station persuaded Paez to allow them to recover the footage from her damaged phone, giving them the exclusive. But then the station accused Paez of arguing with federal agents and refusing demands from the lawmen as she records law enforcement activity. They also insinuated that the agents were only trying to look out for her safety. Here's the quote from NBC's story about this. Quote, "This is unsafe right now. You're in the line of the fire," an officer tells her. "Go across the street and film all you want." She repeatedly tells them that she has a right to record the operation and that she feels she's in a safe spot, then protests that two agents are standing too close to her. Just moments later, in a confrontation captured by another bystander, a U.S. Marshal, there you go, Mark, grabbed the device from her hands and smashes it. Quote, "I'm not in the way. I'm in a safe spot. I need to film and I have a right to film. I'm watching. Please don't block my view," Paez says after an agent told her that she's getting in the way of their investigation. That's an ending of the quote from NBC. As Miller points out, NBC fails to ask the most obvious question. If she was indeed in the line of fire, does anyone really believe the cops would be milling about as they were doing before the clip begins? For an entity that frequently cites officer safety when ordering citizens to stop recording because they claim the camera could be a gun in disguise, there's no way they would purposefully stand in the line of potential real gunfire. And I think Carlos is absolutely right about this. There was a situation in Keene just a few weeks ago where the cop block activists were out in the streets. We were tipped off that the Keene police were downtown with machine guns. And we went down there to check it out.